Hello, hello. Thank you guys for joining us to another Naked Conversation with. Today we are talking to Cleo from Topless Topics.
You
You
got
can
my
find
name
her.
correctly. Thank you.
in-
Everyone always calls me Chloe.
Oh, I'm
Sorry.
sorry. Well, I'm sorry for them calling you uh, Chloe, but I think it's Cleo. Am I right?
Yeah, yes.
Perfect. All right. So
Sorry.
Cleo, you guys could find her online as Topless Topics. She's very active on her Twitter and her Vimeo channel. And she was very
Wow.
active on other social media channels, but probably you'll tell us about your story with social media and censorship later on.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
Cleo, thank you for joining
I
us.
do want to jump in that actually my Vimeo is also defunct now, and I can go into more detail on that later. So
Mhm.
I'll wait till we get to that, but go ahead.
Okay. Thank you for joining. How are you doing today?
My kids are down for their nap, so it's nice to have a little bit of a break from the screaming and the breaking things. So
I can
pretty
imagine.
good.
I'm
I'm
glad to
also
hear
not used to someone else interviewing me, so this is kind of exciting, I guess.
that. All right, Cleo. So, you've been an online personality in our community for quite a while. But before talking about your current work and things that you're doing, I'd like to go back a little bit and talk about, um, you know, Cleo growing up. And also, if we can
Mhm.
start with just a short introduction of who you consider yourself to be and what you
Okay,
have done, a little bit of what you have done.
sure. So I was born and raised. I always associated nudist. Is it naturist or naturalist? I can never remember the
I
other.
think like everyone pronounces it or says it however they want, so I don't think
Yeah.
it matters.
Growing up, we always just called it nudism. My parents kind of reached, they started to identify as a nudist, I don't know, years before I was born. Mostly because occasionally they would go to places like Swallows and Glen Eden down in San Diego. I have actually only ever been to a handful of like nudist resorts or whatever you want to call them over the course of my life.
Mhm.
But around the house, like I was basically when I was a kid, I was apparently always butt naked. And my own kids, I have a 2 and a 4-year old, and I would totally be fine with that, except that we don't really have privacy in our house. And
Mhm.
also they're still learning to not, I mean, the 4-year-old's good, but the 2-year-old is still getting potty trained, and I just don't want messes on the floor. But yeah, I was raised a nudist. I'm an only child, and when I was younger, we had more privacy kind of in our house. I never lived in like a giant, surrounded by acres or whatever, but there was definitely more privacy. um I I kind of like used to be, I sort of went through the process where I was little and I didn't even care about it. And then as I started to, as I became a teenager and stuff, I would get a lot more comments, and it made
Mhm.
me very not want to be naked or even topless. And it's disappointing because the thing that I always tell people when they ask, like, oh, I could never be a nudist, it's too nerve wracking or whatever. In a wholesome, and I mean wholesome can be a loaded term that's like anti, LGBT and racist, but in a, family friendly non-sexual nude situation, people should not be staring at you, just like you shouldn't be staring at people. It's not about evaluating each other's bodies. It's about being comfortable in a place where you can just not wear clothes and not have people like staring at you and making comments.
Mhm.
So when I was a teenager and young adult, I really didn't ever go naked as much. I mean, like when I was home, I would I have a very distinct memory of when I was a young teenager and I was playing this video game, and it was like a game where you make little videos using like pre-recorded whatever, and when you finish the video, there's this little thing that plays. It's like, oh, you look great, you're all dressed up. And I just remember being like butt naked and being like, this is funny. But yeah, and then as I got to be in my mid 20s, for basically the first time in my life, I started to make friends with people my age who I could have very honest conversations with. And we would have parties sometimes. And there was me, and there was another girl named I can never remember how to say her name. But it's either Kami or Kamia. But anyway, it was almost like a playful thing where it was like, which of us went topless first?
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't the same as a nudist resort, like, because these people were raised in a culture saying female nipples equal sex. You know, I didn't do anything, but it was to be expected to have comments like that. But then as the core group kind of got smaller and I was more outspoken about, you know, yes, I have my shirt off, but that doesn't mean that I want people to be like staring at me or whatever. It became, you know, a lot more chill. Although it was disappointing when there was this core group and we used to all hang out in his spa, and he lived in a very remote area, and it was a very like, no, it wasn't everybody was naked. Like one of my very good friends there, she didn't feel comfortable even topless, so she would keep her bathing suit on, and there was no like, oh, you have to be naked, you know, what are you hiding? It was just whatever your comfort level was. But I was talking to the guy that owned the area once, and I was like, he had a 10-year-old daughter, and I was like, are you ever, you know, do you ever hang out naked around your kid? And he was like, oh, no, no, no. And it was, you know, it made me realize that he was still associating it with like a sexual thing, adult
Mm-hmm.
only thing. So, but and then, so you want me to introduce how I was started being a content creator, or?
I think you need to relax.
Okay.
You're
Oh no,
used
this is
to
my normal, this is my normal.
you're used to the interviewing part. I just wanna get to know the Cleo. So
Okay. I am very
you,
hyper though. Like this is me. So
okay, that's fine. So you mentioned that your parents were naturists before you were born. Then, like the first part of your life, you were a naturist, but as you went into the teens, you started feeling a little bit more um, not as
self-conscious.
confident, probably. But
Yeah.
was that lack of confidence associated to people thinking that naturists were weird or
It
crazy, or did you ever
yeah,
have
well it wasn't lack of confidence. It was not wanting to be
not wanting to be
stared at.
what?
Not wanting to be like stared at and have people make comments because,
But
you
did anyone
know,
ever know about that part of your life? Like, did
oh,
they know your
even as far as like just regular friends, not really, not when I was
no?
a teen. I was very, very bullied growing up anyway. Like I didn't really have any close friends until my mid 20s about. And because I used to watch the Wonder Years, and he's like the loser, but he has the one best friend. And I remember watching them be like, I wish I had a best friend. But yeah, I never had friends growing up that I felt comfortable with that. And I don't have specific memories of having the conversation with my parents about don't let people know that you're nudist.
Yeah.
It just, I kind of, from osmosis, from watching, media making fun of streakers and stuff like that, it was understood that, being
Yeah.
comfortable naked was not a common feeling. So yeah, I didn't. But then the other part of it is, and I was going to get into this more later, but I am a nudist in that, I feel comfortable without clothes as long as other people are not being gross about it.
Hmm.
And especially topless, like I wish I could go around like my husband, he's got a hairy chest and everything. He's clearly male, even though he's got long hair. He can go topless anywhere he wants. He goes, he does yard work or whatever, and he's topless. And I'm envious of that because
Do
that
you
I feel
think that has
comfortable.
changed since you started promoting topless topics and free the nipple and just
Yeah. I mean, like I'm still comfortable with it. Like it's funny, I started doing daily vlogs again, and currently, due to stuff I'm going through with Vimeo and stuff, the only platforms that I'm going topless on anymore is a live streaming thing called Plexstorm. And they actually allow sexual things on Plexstorm, but they say specifically when you sign up, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to be naked or whatever. And also, that can't be the only thing. Even if you are doing sexual things, that can't be all you're doing. It has to be like, you're live streaming a video game or editing a video or something. You can't just be doing that stuff.
what is the
And I
platform
don't
called?
love it. Huh?
What is the platform called?
Plex Storm. And
Plex.
it's fairly new. And it's not always the most reliable, like they are improving it, but I don't have a place. Like I have people ask me like, how can I watch the live stream after it's over? I don't have anywhere that I can host the video right now. I'll just spit out the thing about Vimeo. So the thing that's going on with Vimeo is I've been a paying customer for years with them. I've been paying $1,000 a year for 7 terabytes of storage that I'm only using 300 gigabytes of. And then in December, just this past year, they sent me an email claiming that I was using more bandwidth than 99% of the users of the rest of the website, and that I needed to get this like executive package, which was like thousands of dollars more, or, you know, they delete my channel. And I like went back and forth with him, and he was like, well, if you make a significant effort to limit your bandwidth, then we can, you know, we can check on it in a little bit. So I went through all my videos, and I basically made almost every single one private. So only, you know, I and anyone I specifically invited and gave a code to could watch it. There were only like literally less than 5 videos that were still publicly available. And I was like, okay, there's no way I'm going over the limit with this. And then in January, just, you know, that we just had, I got a new email where they were like, you're still using too much bandwidth, you have to charge us more money or whatever. And I was just like, how can I possibly have been using too much bandwidth? So at this point, I took all my videos, I made every single video on Vimeo, only me. I'll probably just delete it. I don't know, like I keep hoping that maybe I'll, you know, alert enough people about this whole blackmailing scheme from Vimeo that they'll, you know, stop telling me. And the thing that's so frustrating about it is Vimeo's a very awkward, broken site. I've had so many problems with them for all the times that I've been using them, but they have a monopoly on being basically the only video source I've ever found that allows non-sexual nudity, but doesn't allow hardcore porn. Everywhere else, you know, if I can go topless, they also allow hardcore porn. And I know people are going to say, well, I found nude stuff on YouTube. I, for some reason, have way worse luck with censorship. Like one of the reasons that I officially am just not using Instagram or Facebook anymore is it was too enraging to see other naturists that I follow, female naturists, post a full naked picture with like little starburst, and they got away with it. Whereas I've had text only posts banned. I've had, you know, I for a while now, I've made videos where I have a giant gradient box covering my entire body chin down. Those still get banned as, you know, adult. And as far as YouTube goes, when I first started Topless Topics, I did it on YouTube, and I actually, for a couple of years there, seemed to be doing okay. And I've been making videos on YouTube since the first year. I didn't start Topless Topics until I just randomly, you know, wanted to about 10 years ago. And at that time, I also had a gaming channel that I had been working on for a few years. And I reached the point where I was like, you know what, I'm just going to throw everything on Topless Topics and not really, because it's too much effort to like record all this, you know, topless stuff and then also record clothes stuff. So I was like, I'm just going to put everything on Topless Topics. But then YouTube started taking my videos down and stuff. So I got a little way from the point. Sorry.
That's okay. I don't think we're going to have a specific format in conversation, so just feel free to go.
Okay.
Regarding
Regarding
Vimeo, I went through the same exact thing that you described.
Really?
And I don't think that it's anything personal. I think that basically Vimeo was not financially sustainable.
Yeah.
So they came up with this shitty strategy to pressure content creators to give them more money. And some content creators accepted and others didn't. I did not accept, and I just put all my videos on private, and now all my videos are available only to my Patreon community. Simply because I don't like the strategy that they pulled off. I think it's like a mob-like strategy. Like, we're here to sell security.
Well, the 99%, like, there's no way for me to qualify that, like, to tell if it's real or not. Because December, I only got 126,000 views, and basically none of my videos are over 720p. So the idea that that many views. I got them to send me a
spreadsheet of all the bandwidth that I generated during like all the months that I've been on the platform, and like he was really hesitant to work with me at the beginning because it was like very sales oriented. Like, you have to buy the next package, like pushing it really hard. And I told him, you know what? I'm not going to buy the package. And if you continue to pressure me, I'm simply going to get off your platform. So I want to
I said that, and all they said was like, oh, of course, if you choose to leave us, you know, we'll be sorry to see you go. But that was it. Like, they didn't care.
Yeah, well, I don't know why, but apparently they were willing to work with me. And And I just found the solution because they didn't even want to make the solution obvious. It was just
Yeah.
like, you have to buy.
Yeah.
And I told them, I'm not going to buy anything. So if we could find a way to work, and I plan on continuing my relationship and paying you guys for years. Or if you guys want to bully me into buying a larger package that I
Yeah.
don't need, then I'm just simply going to, go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I guess I don't think that, the thing is, it's really difficult for platforms that don't rely on advertisement to work.
Yeah.
Like the whole
Yeah.
advertisement model is extremely successful, and that's allowed all these major companies like YouTube, Google, Facebook, Instagram to be so successful. And
Yeah.
if we think that the community is going to pay for this service, we're wrong. Like,
Yeah.
I think only
The average
1%.
person just doesn't have that amount of money to sustain a
Well,
big
yeah, the
site.
average person doesn't have that amount of money, and just people are used to a free model. It's like, why would I pay for something if it's free?
Yeah.
Obviously, you're the product. Your attention is a product.
Yeah.
The personal information is a product. But that's something that people can't really see on a day-to-day basis. They know that it's happening, but they don't understand how it affects them, so they don't really care because they're getting something for free.
Yeah, I admit that I get really frustrated with my followers when I tell them, for some reason, I get banned way more than anybody else. So what would be super helpful if you care about my content, you want more people to find it, is if you post about it and not just retweet me, because if my original one gets banned, then the post is gone. But if you make an original post, plus it's less likely to get banned if you make an original post. But yeah, as far as the, the free model or whatever, the thing that kind of cracked me up in a bitter way is that on YouTube, you're rewarded for getting lots of views. On Vimeo, you're punished. And yeah, talking about the advertisers, that's the crux of it. That's the, catch 22, because back in the old days of YouTube, back in the days of yore, there, before it became something that like Hollywood was putting, super professional videos on there, it was this first opportunity for people to share their weirdness with each other, their creative, not worrying about like what was commercial friendly, but just doing whatever occurred to them. And stuff like that still does exist on YouTube, but of course it's not promoted. It doesn't show up on front pages. There's no way to like organically find it. They go for the stuff that's saleable. And I know you don't like to get political, so I'm going to be very brief about this, but the advertising thing especially galls me, because there are people on YouTube and Facebook and whatnot who are literally making millions of dollars putting very, hateful, violence inspiring content on there, and somehow that's advertisement friendly. But me just trying to have exactly the same right as a man is not commercial friendly, and it just really bothers me. And I was going to get into it later.
I don't mind talking about, I don't mind expressing to you and the audience why I avoid political topics. It's not necessarily that I studied politics. I studied political science in the university. I participated in political parties.
Sorry, I just thought it was funny that I'm using this cup and a seashell bra.
Yeah.
But anyway, sorry.
So I'm not afraid of politics. It's just that there's specific things that I don't think are strategic. I like to do things because I feel like the things that I do will turn into something positive or produce value or whatever. If I think something is a waste of time, I won't dedicate time or energy to it. If I think something affects my ability to get a message out there, I'm going to avoid it. And I think the moment that people get, well, for one reason, we have to talk about what is getting political. Like, me not participating in US politics is me not being political, because I'm Mexican. I live in Mexico. The US, in a certain sense, sometimes to me comes off as I am the center of the universe. So everyone has to pay attention to what's going on to me, because I'm number one or whatever. So I don't believe that way. Like, I don't think that I should care about US politics. Like, there's some extent that it affects me, but as a Mexican, it's
Right.
none of my business. It's your business because you're a US citizen, that
Yeah.
you can vote, you can participate, you can create, you can influence the political sphere. I could indirectly influence it,
Yeah.
but that also has a high cost for me. Like,
Hmm.
if as soon as I get political, there's a lot of people who will not listen to my
Turn you
message
off.
anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that, in a way, is shadow banning myself. Like, why? And why does it matter?
Yeah.
Like, why does my opinion regarding Donald Trump or Joe Biden or whatever matters? I have an opinion. I followed the entire process. Like, I know what's going on. It's not that I'm ignorant. It's just I don't see value in me expressing my opinion.
Hmm.
I think it's great that you express yours, as I mentioned, because you're a citizen, you can vote, you can do a lot of
Well,
things.
I have a point to make when you're done, so I'm like
Yeah.
trying to
No, go
like.
ahead. So the thing is, it's not that I don't like to get political. It's just that sometimes getting political is shooting your, like, your foot.
Yeah.
And it's also about something that is none of my business. Like, I'm affected indirectly by things that go on in the world, but there's more that I can do in my local area, that I
Hmm.
think has more impact. And I don't share that online either because my platform is international. So if I'm talking about, I don't know, potholes that are near my house, like, I honestly don't expect people to care about it, and they
Right.
shouldn't. Yeah, go ahead.
So it's funny because I actually, I told you before we started, I kind of just banged out a list of things that I was hoping to kind of interweave in there. And basically, I think that especially on YouTube or whatever, there's sort of two spheres of type of content. There's yours, where it's mostly about a specific thing, naturism or natural, whatever the word is. And so, yeah, like for the purposes of naturism, trying to represent it, trying to encourage other people to try it out. Obviously, if you get into, territory where you're going to piss some people off, like talking about, like you said, Trump or whatever, if your goal is to get as many people as possible talking about naturism, then yeah, like you said, it's like shadow banning yourself. I am from the mode of more personality based
Mm-hmm.
content. And it's funny because, like I said, I've been around since the beginning of YouTube, and I've sort of indirectly watched and even participated in all these waves of how it's changed and everything. And
Yeah.
like when they first started using the word influencer, it like I hate that word because it makes it sound like a cult. Like from the beginning, I've always been like it, and with Hollywood celebrities too, why would you buy a product because you saw a celebrity make a commercial for it? Like they were paid to promote that. But I think that there is it depends on what you go to YouTube for.
Yeah, of
And,
course.
a lot of the channels, I don't really watch too many other people now because I have a limited amount of time because of my kids, and what time I do have, I try to put into my own content.
Yeah.
But there's like a familiarity that a lot of people get out of it. And like a long time ago, I used to go to VidCon every year back when I lived in San Diego because it was just a quick drive. I was going to go last year, but then COVID happened.
Yeah.
They supposedly they might have one this year. I'm going to try to go. And basically VidCon there's a couple of them, like there's one in London or whatever, but it's this big convention that is focused on like YouTube and whatever else is popular then, like Vine or TikTok or whatever. And I don't think, I mean, maybe there was someone from Vimeo there, but it definitely wasn't like reflected in the promotional materials. But anyway, it sounds really egotistical to say, but my content has always been more, this is what's interesting to me.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's weird. It's on this weird line between hobby and job where there are definitely things that I could have done to be more popular, but they didn't appeal to me because then I'm kind of pigeonholed to a certain subject or a certain activity. Because like many years ago, one of these channels that rose to fame is PewDiePie.
Yeah.
And my content actually predates PewDiePie, but at the height of his popularity, I had people going to my old gaming videos and accusing me of copying him, even though my videos are older than his channel. But that's where, you know, there's a certain element of celebrity to a lot of these people.
Yeah.
And that can definitely be very toxic. I mean, it was kind of schadenfreude to watch these like hot, you know, momentarily famous young British boys have all this ego, and then 2 years later, no one's heard of them. You know,
Yeah.
you rise and crash. But I do think of it as being a genuine representation of myself back from the days when vlogging was really like the main thing. Like a lot of the people that did very well on the platform, like their name is not is no longer acceptable, but the Shaytard family or whatever. And it's basically these vlogs about this family with their kids and everything like that. Unfortunately, as they got more famous, they had a lot more, you know, people get a little weird sometimes, and they treat you like this, you know, they put you on a pedestal. And so if you, for instance, if you get divorced from your wife and it's been a, you know, husband-wife channel, people get very upset because it's like they want you to be, you know, a unit.
I think it's very toxic and very unhealthy to idealize other humans. Like when someone becomes famous or known, people start attributing unrealistic qualities, both good and bad. So people are not as terrible as other people say, or as great as other people say. And the thing is, like as the platform grows, or your personal platform grows, you're exposed to more and more opinions. And the interesting thing is, the more that it grows, the stronger your hate community becomes.
Oh yeah.
Because you know that you're famous when you have a pretty solid hate community.
But I mean, there is the concept of hate clicks though, also, because people are far more likely to leave a comment if they dislike something than if they like it. That's just the way that humans are. And of course, on the flip side, the way human psychology is, we focus more on the negative comments than the nice ones. And even the nice ones, when you make content like mine, it's frustrating when I'm talking about, you know, mental health or parenting or whatever. And so often I get these comments that are like, I like your videos, by the way, great tits. And it's like, did you hear anything coming out of my mouth? Sorry, I just wanted to throw that in.
No, that's fine. And I'm pretty sure you get a lot of that. Going back to what we were talking about regarding the two styles, you're right. I think it has a lot to do with your goals. My goal is not to express everything that has to do with my personality, personal life, my belief system. Like I have a goal. My goal is to make naturism mainstream. Like that's my goal. And what I've done through the entire time that I've been promoting it is choosing things that I feel like will help make that happen. I think that naturism will become mainstream and successful as soon as it becomes profitable. So that's another thing that I want to do. That's very unpopular in our community.
Like all the freaking commercials that all of a sudden are putting Black Lives Matter in there. They're promoting, I mean, like, oh, suddenly this is.
It's the capitalist world that we live in, and we could be against it and complain, but most likely no one is going to listen to our opinion because the opinion is not profitable, so no one cares.
Honestly, the way that I can anticipate naturism becoming more acceptable is unfortunately kind of on the piggybacking of making sex workers more accepted, because there's a lot going on. Like I'm addicted to political Twitter. I'm always reading, you know, articles all over the place. And there's definitely a shift where it's like, why are we demonizing sex workers? Like they are a fundamental part of every system. And, you know, it's like people hate them, but they also use them or whatever. And, you know, you and I know that the important thing about naturalism, I'm just gonna call it nudism. The important thing about nudism is that it's not sexual. That is the entire point. And like specifically with my content, topless equality, is I just want the same rights as a man. You know, a man could go to the beach and if he doesn't wear a shirt, people aren't like, ooh, and like that's all I want. All I want is gender equality. But yeah, sorry.
I think it has a lot to do with the way that the human society is evolving. I don't know, in the past, the moment that you were born, everything was already chosen, like
Mm-hmm.
who you were, how you had to express yourself, who you had to like how you had to have relationships, children, blah blah blah. Like the moment, all you
And
had to
gender
do
roles.
was just follow the line. Like it was
Mm-hmm.
already marked. All you have to do is just follow it. But the more and more society has evolved, the more that we consider it to be important for us to have the right to choose.
Mm-hmm.
We have the right to choose who we love, what type of life we want to live, what type of work, career, and so on. And I think that um, sexuality has had a lot
Mm-hmm.
of advancements, but I don't feel like necessarily naturism and sexuality.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think sexuality is going to push naturism, or I don't think naturism is going to push sexuality. I mean, I might be wrong, but what I'm trying to say is that I think that it's part of the nature of society to gain more rights, and being able to
Mm-hmm.
choose whether to dress or not is the next step in having power and control over your individuality, your life.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know if it's related or unrelated to sex work. So if I said it doesn't have anything to do with it, I'm probably wrong. I'm not stating
I
that it
mean,
doesn't, but
yeah, because I mean, I don't have hard research to
no,
prove. I'm just saying from my,
it's definitely
picking up
associated.
on,
Like
yeah. And
there's,
sorry, I was just going to say the way I see it happening is as, expressions of sex work or whatever becomes more acceptable, like, it's okay for women to talk about, what methods they use or whatever, then I see people having the conversation more like, why is this
yeah,
sexual and this isn't? And it's like, I have a couple of interviews, of course, because of the Vimeo BS, those videos aren't available right now. But one of the first ones that I did that I felt went really well was I interviewed this adult actress, Eden Blair. And she said in the interview, like, she would give up sex work in a second if it gave her the right to go topless at the beach without getting harassed.
yeah,
And it's like with the people that follow me, especially on Twitter. So you know this, but the thing about Twitter is that they allow pretty hardcore stuff on there. But what they do is they put you in another category where you have to, like, people have to go to the options and like click all these things so they can see your content. And the
yeah,
mobile is bugged for me, and apparently one of my other followers is bugged for him as well, where even though I have that setting on all my stuff, whenever I load my own profile or anything that I've posted, it hides it as sensitive material. And
yeah.
it's just like anything I can even retweet a publicly uploaded GIF and it still gets,
I
or
think
just retweeted.
it's in
That's the only thing
general.
about it.
Like as soon as
Yeah.
you put your channel as sensitive content, anything
Hmm.
you post is considered sensitive
Yeah.
material. They
Yeah.
don't
And
have
what's
like Facebook and Instagram or YouTube that
mhm.
analyzes everything that you post and
Right.
does something on a case to case basis. Twitter is just
Yeah.
like you put something that is sensitive and everything is sensitive.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, that's what's so frustrating is because female nipples are, or female looking nipples are considered sexual, it doesn't matter that I've literally never done anything actually
Yeah.
sexual in any of my videos. They just get lumped in with that. And then unfortunately, that puts me in a position where it's, my stuff doesn't generally show up on search results, only direct word of mouth, which again is why it's frustrating that I haven't successfully found a way to incentivize my followers to make original posts linking to my stuff. The
Mhm.
only people that are sharing most of my content are, I call them porn bots, and I'll explain in a
Yeah.
second, but are people looking for porn. And because female nipples equal porn, all it takes is me being shirtless for them to be frantically retweeting it along extremely explicit material. And I call them porn bots because basically a porn bot is someone that retweets all sorts of sexual stuff, or even just like upskirt stuff, stuff that is clearly meant for a sexual purveyor,
Yeah.
or,
Gratification.
kind of, yeah, gratification. And they don't even add anything to the conversation, or if they do, it's just pervy comments. It's not like, they retweet sex stuff, but then they also like talk about other subjects.
Yeah.
Although I'm on the fence about those. I'm pretty aggressive about blocking people, although lately I've just kind of given up because it's just too much time. If you are a female, if you look female, and I say female because that's what the algorithms care about. It's
Mhm.
not what you legally are. It's not about, as long as you're not showing below the waist. If you look female, then you have these more specific standards. But anyway, I block porn bots, but I actually follow and am followed by quite a few sex workers because I support that. And that has been a thing that really conflicts with a lot of my nudist followers. So I only recently, in like the last couple of years, have really started to gain a lot of nudist followers because, Follow Back Friday and stuff like that. And I have a really good interview that I cut into parts, and I really hope I can find direct hosting or something, or maybe just give up and freaking put it on Pornhub just so I can get it out there. But I interviewed one of my very old followers, Kenny, who actually started following me back when I was just a gaming channel. And he has a lot of strong opinions about nudists. And like I said, it's a really good interview, but he hates being called a nudist because he's a Black man. He's had all these negative interactions. And I'm honestly a lot closer to his opinion, I think, than a lot of my nudist followers, in that I support the choice to wear or, to not wear or to wear clothes as much as you're comfortable with. Whereas I've faced a lot of condemnation from nudist followers of mine who are like, they make it sound like a war against people that wear clothes. Like anyone who wears clothes is repressed and, blah, blah, blah. And I feel like that's just as kind of nonsensical as saying that anyone that doesn't wear clothes is, a sexual deviant. So I try not to pigeonhole myself that way. And like, going back to the personality versus topic, specific topic focus, I am presenting myself as an example of what non-sexual female nipples look like, because I'm not doing anything sexual. But I'm stuck in the catch-22 where, because people think that female nipples are sexual, it doesn't matter that I'm not doing anything sexual. It still gets termed that. So anyway, I kind of go on soapboxes a lot. Sorry.
That's okay. I'm taking notes, so
Okay.
we'll go back. I wanted to say that I feel like if we don't do this, like I was talking to my wife a while ago or later on today, and we were talking about how naturism is growing. And I told her, and something that I really believe, and that is naturism will eventually become mainstream, whether we do something to push it that way or not. And I think that we are like the content creators, the promoters, like everyone that's trying to get the word out right now. We're like the first wave of YouTubers before YouTube exploded, before YouTube became what it is now.
Yeah.
So I feel,
I mean, I would love that because I feel like it's getting worse, but maybe it's, getting worse right before it gets better. But hopefully.
I mean, there's definitely going to be obstacles, but if I'm not afraid of things being challenging. I get frustrated when arbitrarily they get rid of my work, but I don't. I kind of like the challenge. I kind of like the fact that we have to go through hoops and struggle, and because it's creating a better narrative. Like there's a more interesting story that is evolving, and sooner or later, I feel like this is going to explode. And if we know how to capitalize it, we can take advantage of the situation and make naturism grow. But we have to control the conversation. That's why I think it's so important that people from the community are promoting it, because when it does become successful, it's going to be people that are only interested in profitability. And profitability is great, but it has to be accompanied by values. If not, I think it's just going to get out of hand and become a really big trend. And then since it's not going to have a lot of value in it, it's just going to disappear. And the next big trend is going to come along.
You just reminded me of this book that I just finished. I'm trying to remember. I think it's like I'll look up the name of it later, but it's a novel, like it's, fictional, but it's basically about this girl who it's like over her course of her life, and she was really quiet and shy, and then in college this guy gropes her, and she kind of like tries to get him held accountable, but people just don't really care, and like the school is like, just shut up about it. And she goes to this, there's a lady that is like a forefront feminist who comes and does a talk, and it means a lot to her. And it's sort of this like process of how she became an avowed feminist. And the older lady gets really frustrated because she forms a partnership with this venture capitalist who she knows, and his company funds her magazine and stuff, and helps them put seminars and stuff. But because of the capitalistic advantage of it, he starts making it like almost like more of a profit-based thing, where it's like, oh, let's get celebrities to come to our seminars, so people come just to look at the celebrity, and it's not about furthering feminism anymore. It's just about female empowerment. Like, it's like the stereotype of the white woman activist, where they're supposedly standing for feminism or whatever, but they're talking over women of color and stuff like that, and there's still a ego involved that gets in the way of furthering the actual cause of feminism or equal rights or whatever. Like, there's still a personality kind of in the way. But they lie about it. That's the thing. They lie to people, and they lie to themselves, like, oh, I'm just here for feminism. And it's like, but then why are you on a stage talking about like yourself? And I feel like I'm a hypocrite when I say that, but that's why I try to be honest and say my content is personality based. It's not like, I talk about nudism and toplessness a lot, but I also talk about video games and parenting and stuff like that, and mental health. And the thing I was going to throw in earlier, and then I got distracted, is back in the day when I did go to VidCon, someone came up to me, and I had just started Topless Topics, and I was still very like uncomfortable with people in real life talking about it, because the odds are that they treat it as a sexual thing. But anyway, he came up and he said that my videos talking about my anxiety and depression really helped him, because it made him feel like he wasn't the only person experiencing these things. And so in that sense, I think that there can be value in being personality based, where, like I said, my purpose is to present a real life example of a non-sexual topless woman.
Mm-hmm.
What irks me, to go back to the rise of the influencer or whatever, is there is a false sense of genuineness. And there's some really good videos that I found that kind of talk about this, and I can try to look up the links, because I think they put it in better words than I can. But because it's just on your computer screen or on your phone, and it's like one person, there's a lot of this feeling of like, it is a person, it's like a friendship, but you have these people that are focused on marketability. They're pretending like it's, oh, this is my real life, but it's actually like a very, commercialized version of themselves, where they appeal to people or whatever. And leading up to VidCon last year, I actually was going to the list of featured creators. And like I said, I just don't really watch other people's videos much, because I don't have a lot of time, and also because I don't like pretend reality. I don't like, I've never been like a reality TV type person, because everything's always selectively edited to make it look a certain way. But I was going through the list, and I was trying out the people that are, considered famous now, who get a special pass and everything for VidCon. And very few of them appealed to me, because it was always like this character, that they were pretending. It was an acting thing. It wasn't like a genuine thing. And so I was really turned off by that.
I don't think there's
So
anything wrong with having a persona.
I
I
think
think we all have a persona.
if you, well, no, I mean, we do have persona, but my point of contention is when they pretend like it's really them.
When they pretend
But
to be genuine.
yes,
So it's like,
false authenticity.
yeah, and authenticity is something that's really hard to convey, because
Yeah.
it comes from a space of vulnerability, and
Mm-hmm.
not everyone feels comfortable being vulnerable all the time. And
Yeah.
I do feel like there are defense mechanisms in ourselves that react to certain circumstances. And like, I don't know, like, I like to embrace my mistakes when I'm
Mm-hmm.
recording something and I'm doing it, and I screw it up. I like to have that, but I am also aware like I'm aware that I have certain qualities that make me like more sociable, but I also have other qualities that, you know, affect whatever. So I think
Yeah.
that I don't know. Like I understand the not liking someone who pretends to be genuine when they're actually not, because we don't like fake.
Yeah.
But we also can't be too critical that someone has to always be 100% genuine.
Yeah.
And if, like, for example, if someone is sad and they start recording it, the moment that you
Hmm.
start recording that you're sad and that you're crying and whatever, it becomes, you're acting. It becomes fake,
Yeah.
because maybe you
Yeah.
want more people to sympathize with you or empathize with you, and then you
Yeah.
make it more into a drama, or I don't know. It's just, I feel like
No,
authenticity is really hard to express online.
yeah. I think there's a lot of layers to it, and it's sort of, there's like a whole culture behind, YouTube content creators. And like I said, I've sort of been observing it all from the peripheral. And there's definitely a difference between choosing to be positive on your videos and try to make other people happy, versus like acting or whatever. And I should add that I am a very flawed person. Trust me, I'm aware. And one of my flaws is that I guess it's jealousy to see these people that already have very blessed lives where they're already rich, and they're just recording themselves going to Aspen with their other rich friends or something. I've never been attracted to the what, I can't remember what it's called, but basically where you buy really expensive things that you can't afford and you watch celebrities doing stuff because it makes you feel like you're almost vicariously living their life. I've
Yeah,
never felt that way. And so there is a level of jealousy where I see people that I feel like they're not really making very good content, but they have a wide appeal because one, they're appealing to brands because they're getting paid to represent brands, and two, they're, like I said, I hate the word influencer because it sounds like you're talking about like people putting unrealistic expectations in content creators. And I feel like just because you watch someone's videos a lot and they're really popular doesn't mean that they have the best advice or whatever. And on the flip side of that, I was going to mention earlier, but I I get very uncomfortable when people are very honest with me about things that really affect them. Like, I try to be an empathetic person, and talking about myself in my videos, I have a genuine interest in the lives of the people I interact with the most. Like the people that I talk to on Twitter and during my live streams and stuff the most, I legitimately consider them friends. And I'm a child of the internet way back when. I had all these online friends who I was far more honest with than I ever was with people in real life. One, because I was bullied, and two, because if I had a huge fallout with someone, I could just stop talking to them. I wouldn't run into them.
yeah,
But like, I will have, it doesn't happen too often, but I will have people like send me a message saying, I hate myself so much, I want to kill myself. And I'm like, how do I respond to that? Like, I'm
yeah,
like, please don't. But I'm not trained to
yes,
respond to that. So
yes,
I'm really hesitant to really like talk to them, in the sense that I don't want to accidentally influence them to be the wrong, go to be worse. But
yeah,
if I say like, I really think you should call the suicide hotline or something like that, I'm aware, because again, I deal with a lot of anxiety and depression myself. I can definitely sense the feeling of, oh, they're just pushing me off. They don't actually want to talk to me. And so there is this element, like I tell myself that I'm glad that I'm not super famous, because it gives me the chance to really get to know, the people that I talk to the most. And like I said, I'm very quick to ban like people that just throw me in the same box as adult, sexual
yeah.
stuff.
And that's another
But
interesting thing I wanted to
yeah,
mention. I don't
yeah,
block
because
porn accounts.
well, I think a big part of it is the fact that as a female, we are raised to be to have our worth reduced to what we look like.
Yes,
And it's something that's kind of hard to convey. Like almost all my followers, at least the ones that I know, their gender, are male. And I can have very honest conversations with them. And, you know, the ones that I talk to the most are empathetic, and they understand at least vicariously what it's like to be raised, to have everything you do, you know, brought down to your appearance. And so for me, it's kind of, I guess you could call it a trigger, where people comment on my body and it's like, I feel like they aren't even listening. They aren't seeing me as a person. They're just seeing
Yes.
my body.
Yes.
And so that really makes me irritated. And I don't have much of a threshold with it. But I did
Yeah.
want to throw in talking about, you know, reviewing or recording yourself being sad or angry or whatever. I recently have reached the point where I still, you know, I'm still going to do my Plex Storm streams, and I still want to find direct hosting so I can put my old videos up and make new videos now and then. But I'm planning to get back to my old gaming channel and like not do them topless or whatever, because it gives me a break to not be constantly focused on dealing with the sexual comments. I mean, you still get some just as a female creator, but at least it won't be like 99.9% of the comments like it is now. And also taking a break from dealing constantly with censors. Hopefully. I mean, who knows? My hater brigade might follow me back to my gaming channel and get that stuff reported too. But it gives me more of a chance to focus on things besides dealing with people making comments like that. And also talking about people being, you know, fake on camera. There's this cliche or this trope of the apology video. And like you said, it's someone looking for sympathy. And there's a lot of like PewDiePie and all these other, you know, major creators. And it's not just men. I mean, there are women and, you know, every all genders type creators that have put videos like this out. But it is a lot of male creators where like it's for like sympathy. They're like, you know, I'm really sorry if I offended anyone. And there's a performative quality to it.
I
This
think
isn't
it's
necessarily
entertainment.
related. Yeah, it's entertainment.
Like every time there's
It's
a scandal, like the
mhm,
scandals benefit the person
yeah.
more than they affect them.
Yeah, I know. And like once they're famous, then rules don't apply to them anymore. Especially on YouTube, you know, the big accounts get away with things that smaller accounts get banned on site for,
Yeah.
because they're profitable to YouTube.
I wanted to mention
So
why I don't block porn accounts.
okay.
I when I started promoting naturism, I wanted to try to understand why someone like the exact opposite of the audience I was trying to targeting was the most attracted to what I was creating. And I started to notice that sometimes people live in very repressed environments.
Yep.
And because they live in very repressed environments, they have to create personas, fake accounts, and things like that in order to be able to
Explore.
express,
Yeah.
interact, consume content that they could consume if they weren't so repressed.
Right.
And I think a lot of
Right.
the content that they choose comes exactly from that prohibitionist education that a
Mhm.
lot of people receive. So
That's a
the
good
way I
point.
see it, a lot of people create these accounts to interact with everything that is bad and they shouldn't, so they mix things. So I don't
Yeah.
think that someone that consumes pornography, for example, is incapable of understanding non-erotic nudity.
Yeah.
Like,
If they listen, that's the thing.
but that the thing
So
is, you're evaluating under your
mhm,
perspective and worldview that they're not listening, and
mhm,
you evaluate it because they made a stupid comment, which
mhm,
makes you think maybe they're not listening. But
mhm.
I wouldn't necessarily think that they're not listening or incapable, or and it doesn't have anything to do with thinking that people are like can turn over from the dark side to the right side. Like I don't think naturism
Yeah.
is inherently better than anything else. I think
Mhm,
naturists are the same as any other community. We just
mhm,
happen to enjoy taking our clothes off. And
mhm,
it's like saying, for example, like swingers. Some swingers are attracted to naturism, but not as many as the level of attention that they get. Like
mhm.
most swingers are not even interested in nudity because they have the
Yeah.
same body dysmorphia or
Mhm.
self-esteem issues or whatever that the rest of the population has. So
Because they're
because
still
someone is
evaluating each other. Because a thing about swingers is, I mean, it depends on the person, but you are going there to try to to find someone to have sexual relationships with.
Yeah.
And if you have body dysphoria and stuff like that, it's going to make you more reluctant to, present yourself because you're afraid of rejection, is what I
Well,
would
it
assume.
depends. You don't have to take off your clothes to have sex,
Yeah. Well, no, I know that. I'm just saying, like, if they feel like their bodies are not, attractive,
And
then
I
they're going to
think
be
that
less
it's
likely.
naturists are the other way around. Like naturists
Exactly.
dress up like in nice lingerie and erotic clothing to have
Mm-hmm.
sex because it's like, and I don't know, like
Sending a signal, I think.
talking about something erotic, it's really, I think the most erotic organ in your body is your brain, because like you're capable of hanging out with your partner, you're like all day naked, and as soon as they look at you a certain way or give you a certain cue, then like your mind starts working,
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
start feeling turned on. But nudity itself, you can't reduce. And like
Yeah.
it's like saying, so if nudity itself is inherently sexual, do blind people not get turned on because they can't see naked people? Or
Yeah, that's a good point.
but yeah, the reason why I don't block porn accounts is because, for one, I don't know their circumstances and I don't feel like I'm capable of judging them. And two, they are really good at sharing their content. I remember that we had a really interesting experience in our community before we were so public. We were afraid of sharing our events because we didn't know if people were going to get it, if we were going to get haters, if like a lot of people who hated naturism wanted to participate, so many things that we didn't know. And we shared an event, and it started becoming like mini viral. Like people were sharing it, but most of the people that were sharing it with nasty comments attached to it. But what was also interesting is that there were like people that were sharing it publicly were doing it like as out of mocking it, or being nasty about it.
Oh, I know. Like I've found videos of mine on like cringe Reddits and stuff, but it's
what
views.
the pleasant surprise that I had is the more someone shared it, the more private messages we were getting of people who were actually interested and who like did read and listen and know what it was about. And at the end of the day, that helped our community to grow. So sometimes these accounts that you don't like because they're trolls and they're objectifying you can benefit the cause by.
That is a really good point. And like I've never really looked at it as them only having this separate account. And sorry, I'll let you finish, and then I made some notes.
that was the only thing I needed to say.
Okay.
Like, the reason why I don't block them is because despite them not understanding it, or maybe not understanding what it's about, there's a lot of benefits in having them as an audience.
Sorry.
And
let's see.
If someone understands it, like, I don't know. Like, I think people are capable of separating one thing from another. Like, for example, going back to the swingers example, like there are genuine naturists that are also swingers, and they don't mix, they don't, try to whatever, they don't objectify people, because they understand that there's a time and a place, and the human beings are perfectly capable of understanding that. Some who tend to be the ones that get most of the attention because they're the ones, it's like the negative comments. Like there's probably 100 people who agree with what you're doing and like it and consume it, but they do it silently. But someone who doesn't like because whatever, and they're very vocal about it, you're under the impression that no one likes it, or that more people dislike it than they actually do.
Yeah. So I actually, like, you've kind of shifted my perception of porn bots or people that post a lot of porn just with what you just said. And I will try to, like I said, I'm not really banning them anymore anyway, because it's a lot of work. So
that's another thing. It's so much time.
Whack-a-mole.
And I don't know, like, I don't like the idea of being morally judging people, like going into their profiles, seeing what they're commenting, what they're posting. It's like, it's honestly none of my business. They can do whatever they want with their lives. The only people I block two types of people. People who are extremely toxic, like that are always negative, always complaining, like just people that make me feel like I'm having a good day, but thank you for fucking it up. One.
Yeah.
And two, people who are abusive, bully, nasty to others. Like, I don't
Hmm.
tolerate that behavior. And those are the only two people I block. But
Yeah.
if people are doing whatever they're doing, if I don't like it, I just don't consume it. That's it.
Hmm. Don't follow. Yeah. I man, there's a lot that you inspire me to want to talk about. I do want to throw out that I have been getting more or less ban happy when people show an actual effort to view me differently. And an example of that is I actually made this sign, and I need to reinforce it. But during my Plex Storm streams, because it is a site that allows porn, I get a lot of people that stumble in and think, oh, this is porn. But actually my experience has been, versus YouTube and Twitch and stuff, whenever on Twitch, I can't go topless because it's Twitch, but my name is still Topless Topics on there. And then on YouTube, the censored stuff that doesn't get banned, I get a lot of sexual comments, and I just, block them. And on Twitch, I have gotten a lot more trolls and haters than I ever did on Plexstorm. And it's kind of amazing to me. But I made this sign, so when someone, it's reversed, but when someone comes in and they say something, not even sexual, but just like, nice boobs, I show them this sign, and it says, not that kind of stream, no sexual comments, please. And then if they turn into an a-hole and they're like, deliberately trying to piss me off, then I ban them. But a lot of times I have had people come in, again, on this site that does allow porn, say something sexual, and then I say, like, please don't make comments like that. And they're like, oh, okay. And then they're like, nice, and they're civil and everything like that. And we're talking about the game I'm playing or whatever.
They're probably under the impression that because it's a porn site, you were okay with specific comments or specific behavior.
Right.
The moment that you express that you're not, they're perfectly capable of saying, oh, let's be respectful. Let's not offend her because she told me she doesn't agree with this type of behavior.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't like to think I don't like to reduce people to like a bot. I don't like the term a bot, because it's someone who's incapable of reasoning and just behaves like a computer.
Yeah. Well, that's, like I said, you're changing my perception by saying, maybe that's their chance with that one account to express themselves stuff with what they don't normally want to put themselves with.
It's really hard to have like your genuine account and like and share Naturist posts, because your friends, your family, like, they're going to judge you.
Right.
And
exactly.
a lot of people are hiding because they want to avoid judgment.
Yeah. And one thing that I do try to bring up a lot in my videos is I understand that I'm in an extremely privileged position where, when I'm not making videos, obviously before I had the kids, because I have no time to myself, but I am a freelance graphic designer, illustrator. And so first of all, it's unlikely that they would even know that I am this person. And even if they find out and they decide to freak out about it, I can just not do business with them and find someone else. And actually, as I've been connecting to nudists and stuff, I've been getting commissions from other nudists, and people that are fully aware of it. Like one of my followers that I engage with a lot, Matthew McDermott, he hired me to do these sort of loose illustrations for his blog or whatever. And it was just so fun because I love illustration. And I love drawing human bodies. I think human bodies can be very beautiful, and not just like, skinny, whatever, like all bodies. I mean, it sounds cliche and silly, but I do think that all bodies are beautiful. And so I have two types of people that follow me that I wanted to address. And one is like that, where, they are genuine naturist nudists. And like you said, it's difficult for them to connect their interest with nudism and the rest of their lives, especially on places like Facebook and stuff, where, there's just a lot of judgment. And I also was wondering, maybe the reason that I get more positive comments during live streams than on YouTube or whatever, on video comments, is that when it's a live stream, there's like this feeling of, it being right then. And so it's like maybe in a conversational way, they can be more open about it. But when you leave it as a YouTube comment, it's like you're printing it out and sticking it up on a board where everyone can read it and everyone can respond to it. So it's a lot harder to be genuinely nice because you're afraid of inviting a lot of negative comments, you know?
I
And
think a lot of the reason why people are nasty online is because they're anonymous.
exactly. Yeah.
Being anonymous gives you the power to say something that you would never say to someone.
Yeah.
To
And
their
there's
face.
also this element of like throwing it out at someone and then running away,
And
knowing
then
that
there's
you
also an
left the
element
negative.
that people feel like it doesn't really have an impact. Like if people were aware of how much
Exactly.
damage a comment can have on someone else, they would probably think twice about it. Because I think
Yeah.
like, especially when it's like really famous people that have hundreds of thousands of comments.
Yeah.
Like sometimes people just comment something because they want to start conversation or engagement or whatever. So they say something stupid that comes out of their mind. The first thing that comes out of their mind, they don't think about the impact. And then the creator reads it and it affects them.
Yeah. Because I mean, creators, you know, even famous people, we still have that human psychology of noticing the negative more than the positive, I think. So
yeah, I think something that I noticed, like when my channel started blowing up, like I remember I was at a 1,000, like 1,400 views per day. That was my average. And then the next morning I woke up and it was 14,000. And the next day it was 140,000. And the next day it went to like, in a really short period of time,
exciting.
it really exploded. And I think that during that time when my channel was exploding was when I felt the most anxious of the entire time that I've been promoting naturism. And it was ironic because it's like you're becoming successful according to you know what everyone says that success is, and you feel self-conscious, you feel nervous, you don't want to screw it up, but then so you start developing a lot of insecurities, and
there's a lot of pressure on you to
yes,
be a certain way.
and it's arbitrary pressure because some are pressuring you to be more of this, others more of that, others more. So it's really hard. It's impossible to please people. So I understood at that time, like I sat down and I'm like, okay, you need to get your shit together because this is not going to end well. And my conclusion was I need to treat a positive comment the same way that I treat a negative comment.
Yeah.
Because
I try to remember to screenshot them. And what I want to do is I want to make videos rather than like read mean ones. Although I think that I actually kind of like where on late shows or whatever, they'll take a celebrity and they'll like read mean tweets to each other. But there's like a element of laughing about it because it's like they're so ridiculous that it becomes comedic. But I want to like focus on the nice ones too and kind of reward them, not in like a, you know, lording over them, but in a showing like it really means a lot to me when you say that I had an impact on you, or, you know, like positive impact, I mean. So
let me finish my thought. What I was trying to say is that what a person comments, whether it's positive or negative, is more reflective of that individual, their perspective, their life, like a whole lot of arbitrary things that you have no control over than what you actually do. So it doesn't like you and what you do does have an impact, does matter, but it's not as relevant as you like to think it is. So if someone really loves your work or someone really hates your work, both of those comments are almost identical because it's arbitrary and it has to do with the person, not with you. So the way that I understood that is like, if someone really praises me, then, you know, thank you. It's nice to know that someone is feeling a positive impact of what I'm doing, but I'm not going to let it get to my head. And if someone really hates what I'm doing, I also try to be empathetic and try to understand to my limited capacity why they really hate it. And
they might not even be rejecting your content in general, but rejecting the concept, you know, of what you're trying to represent. So
I think, for example, something that I've noticed that pisses people off is confidence. I think confidence really pisses people off. And I think it really pisses people off because we were educated to be doubtful. We were educated not to have confidence. So as soon as you see someone who is confident, you feel like maybe
Threatened.
I don't know if it's jealousy. I don't know if it's self-defense. I don't know if it's like a sense of justice of saying, hey,
Take them down a peg.
I'm doubtful about myself. What makes you feel like you're so special?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good point.
And
Yeah, I know, like there's, oh, sorry.
no. I was just about like, I think we have to, I think being empathetic is really important, because you try to understand from other person's perspective. And sometimes we're very quick to judge people.
Mhm.
I don't like, I know there's people that I can't stand, but it's not because I think they're bad people or just because there's something about them that pisses me off and I'm not willing to deal with it and I'll just get rid of them.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm
Yeah.
guilty of that too. But I know that it's
Yeah.
not necessarily them. It's me.
Yeah.
I just don't want to deal with it. So fuck
Yeah.
you.
No, I know. And like I said, for me, it's kind of a trigger when people keep talking about what I look like and it feels very devaluing. Yeah. And it's funny because what you just said about, it's not really a response is as much about them than it is about you. I say that in my videos a lot, but it's really hard for me to actually practice what I preach.
Mhm.
And it's like, even though I know, because like one of the things I say to people, especially like I know I keep saying like, I'm from Southern California. What can I say? I love the idea of encouraging basically everyone who wants to be a content creator, because I think basically everyone has something that they're really passionate about or positive about or they like talking about. And especially in time of COVID where it's not safe to be in person,
Yeah.
like don't devalue. I mean, like I said, way back in the day, I had online friends that was purely just text. Like we didn't even know what each other looked like, and yet I considered them very good friends.
Yeah.
And now we have the added benefit of even seeing each other. So I really try to encourage people when they make content or whatever. It's like you're gonna get negative comments because it's the internet, and like it's people, like you said, it's anonymous. It's people's chance to let out their demons that they would otherwise have to face consequences for. But a lot of those people that leave really negative comments, if you go and I don't remember if you can even still do this on YouTube, but you could go and see all the comments they left on everything. Like you can do it on Reddit. I know.
Of course.
They are mean to everyone. And so it's like, again, it's not really about you. But also, you're talking about we're taught to think little of people that talk about themselves a lot or, think very highly of themselves. And it's like selfie culture, just the idea of taking pictures of yourself is really getting revolutionized, where it, up until even like a few years ago, it was very disparaged against. And like I said, my content's personality based. And it's funny because there's definitely a part of me that is always like, I'm just a regular person. Like who gives an F what I what I like or dislike or whatever. But at the same time, I try to value that kind of stuff in other people. And I, if I have a connection to them, like I talk to them a lot, I genuinely do want to know about their lives. And it's like a lot of them, I know their name. I know, if they have kids or wife or whatever, I know how they feel about nudity. I know how they feel about video games and stuff like that. And as far as selfie culture goes, it really depends on what people want to get out of it, I think, because if you are only interested in someone as like someone to watch or whatever, or topic based, like they talk about naturism or something like that, that is something that I was thinking, like even before we started recording, that I wanted to mention. And I mean, if you want to, we can wait and talk about it more later, but I feel a lot of pressure, especially since I, like I said, in the last couple of years, I've gained a lot of followers, not a lot, but, comparatively to what I had before, I've gained a lot of followers who are already nudists, who already understand the difference between, nudity and sex. And I feel a lot of pressure from a lot of them to only talk about nudism all the time. Yeah. And it's not something I like wake up and think about. Like it's important to me. I do want to support making it mainstream, and creators like you who do focus on it, I have a lot of respect for. And, you know, I definitely want the same goal as you. My own content, like I do have, there's a lot of, I guess, see, like even the terms that come to my head are like selfishness, self-centeredness, where it's not just about nudism, it's about me. But like I said, I try to be honest about that. I try to tell
But
people, you know,
why
my content
why
is
is
me.
it why is it a problem that it's about you? It's like it's your channel of communication and you use
Mhm.
it to promote things that you believe in, like
Yeah.
social justice causes, naturism, or things you like video games.
Yeah.
But I don't I don't see a problem with something being up to a specific point self-centered. It's like
Hmm.
it's my channel. Like I remember
Hmm.
people like I like my videos were documenting events and things like that.
Hmm.
And I like to talk. So I would be talking in my videos and people would be
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, I like your videos, but I think you should like put
Yeah.
the camera to more people. Like you should shut up. I
Hmm.
think you're talking too much." Like I would get a lot of that. And I'm like,
See, that's, go
and
ahead.
I'm like,
Sorry.
it's my channel. It's like,
Yeah.
if you don't want to hear me talking,
Hmm.
don't watch my videos because
Yeah.
like I kind of felt like saying, "Hey, do you know like have you noticed the name of the channel?" Like, what's the name of the channel? The name is Hector
Yeah.
Martinez. So it's
Yeah.
my fucking channel. And you're going to see me. And if you don't want to
Yeah.
see me, you don't want to hear me, that's fine.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like, I think that there's like a really big push in trying to be like not be selfish.
Yeah.
And I get it. I think it's
Hmm.
fine. I think it's healthy to share what you have, and if you have the opportunity to benefit others, to do
Hmm.
it. But there's nothing wrong with you being you and you liking something, and maybe if you feel good about yourself, like
Hmm.
that's great.
Sorry, my lips are super dry.
You probably don't want to
Yeah.
share it online because there's going to be someone who wants to tell you otherwise just because it's
Yeah.
fun, because it's
Yeah.
entertaining to be a troll. But if you don't
Not for
if you
me.
don't pay attention to it, it's like,
Yeah.
and maybe a
Yeah.
ton of people would be happy with you and just a couple people hate you. That's fine. Like I see having haters as a way to measure success.
Yeah.
If you didn't have anyone who hated your work, is because your work is irrelevant. No one
Yeah.
cares about it.
Yeah. There's that phrase, I can't remember what it is, but it's basically like even being hated is better than getting ignored. So yeah,
I mean,
especially as a content creator
as a
too. So
content creator, if you're putting it out on a platform for other people to consume,
hmm.
then yes. If no one comments, and like you might get a couple of comments from your aunt, your uncle, your nephew, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
you go there, go girl,
Yeah.
which is great. I
Uh,
mean, it's nice, it's genuine, but it means that your audience is people who care about you.
yeah. Yeah. Well, that's what I was saying is the benefit of being a smaller creator is that it gives me more of a chance to really connect to people. You just inspired me. There's like so many things that I wanted to respond to, but
Go ahead, go
one of
ahead.
the things back when I did use Facebook before, I just got so freaking tired of the hypocrisy. The thing I liked about Facebook and that kind of thing is that for me, they were sort of like conversation topics. Like if I made a comment that was like, this is really frustrating or this is really cool, it was just an open book for people who wanted to respond. Whereas when you individually say it to someone, or even when you say it in like, you know, face to face in a group, there's this expectation for people to, you know, keep on that
Participate.
subject.
Yeah.
So I liked that. And I wish that, you know, maybe someday, I mean, there's a new one called Lip Social that is very focused on like letting people express their nudity and sexuality stuff without getting banned, but they also turn comments off. So there's no way to really interact. But I would love to see a rise in a Facebook like thing that is harder on toxicity, but easier on, you know, expressing yourself and giving people an option. Because the one thing I was going to finish about Twitter, I like that they allow different content, but they also kind of keep it separate from the mainstream, which would be great if you could choose, you know, choose which side you want to be lumped in with, or just, you know, or places where you can mark your content as sexual or nude or whatever on your own, you know, make your own decision. And then people can say, like, make it a checkbox, you know, nudity, but sexually explicit are separate things. So if people are okay with nudity, but they don't want to see sex, then they can,
Yeah.
check that. Anyway.
The only thing, well, talking about that, the only thing that I have a problem with is that these big social media platforms treat adults like children. I understand that there's a need to protect children from specific content when they're not mentally mature to understand what's going on, so they can't choose whether it's good or bad. But I have a problem with adults being treated that way. Like, people should have the option to choose.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
If people want to choose pornographic content, nude content, like you said, or any other type of content, people should have the ability. Now, there's clearly limits. There's things that are illegal, and we don't want people consuming violence, because if people consume violence, then there has to be more violence in order for people to continue.
They get radicalized.
Yeah, and it becomes radicalized. So that's harmful content. But like you said, nudity or whatever, it's like people should have the ability to choose. And I think the naturist community will get attention as soon as we do something relevant. I honestly don't think we have gained the right to be mainstream. And what I mean by that is, it's like we're not interesting. Like, and what I'm trying to say is that for so many years, people have been hiding behind anonymity. Like, the naturist community has been a very anonymous, clandestine, underground community. And now people are more and more open to sharing their experiences. But why do you think these platforms care if they don't see the relevance in your community? Like, I understand profitability has something to do, but not only profitability. Like, for example, Spencer Tunick did a really big manifestation outside of Facebook and Instagram because they were banning his pictures and pictures of other artists. So he was able to.
What was his name? Sorry,
Spencer Tunick. Spencer Tunick has really huge artistic nude installations. Like thousands of people naked in public areas.
Cool.
So he
like flash mobs.
Yeah, and he was able to use his relevance as an artist to talk to other artists and to do something. The naturist community should have been part of that conversation, but our naturist institutions are irrelevant, and they're irrelevant because they're not stepping up to the challenge. They're not starting conversations. They're not educating society. So, like, how do we expect people to listen to our voice if we don't even have institutions that make it possible for people to listen to our voice?
Yeah. I mean, what I've been doing all along, I have, from the beginning, I've been trying to encourage other people to, as much as it's safe for them, be outspoken about, their support of non-sexual nudity. And talking about the people that follow me, one of the groups I did want to kind of give a shout out to are the admittedly small percentage, but still there, group of men and stuff who tell me, they came to my channel looking for porn, but they stuck around because they liked what I had to say and they started finding me, and so that for me is very gratifying. It's almost more gratifying than people who already supported non-sexual nudity coming, because it's like I changed someone's mind, to view it in a different sense. But the other thing, so two things about what you're just saying, talking about like representations of nudism in public. I participated one time in a topless rally that was at UCSD, and there's this woman, Ani Ma, who unfortunately I didn't even find out about her until shortly before I moved up here, but she is pretty outspoken about topless rights or whatever, and she actually got arrested outside of Comic-Con. I have Annie Ma, and I don't know if she's still relevant. We had talked about doing an interview and we just hadn't got to it yet, and there's so many things I want to do and I just don't have the time. But she put together this topless rally at UCSD, and I took part in it, and I was kind of hoping
she was arrested at Bernie Sanders' rally.
Oh, Okay, that's new. I just heard about her getting arrested at San Diego Comic-Con, which is gigantic and full of
It was in
celebrities.
2016. Well, this
Okay,
one was
yeah.
in 2016.
Yeah. But she put together this thing, and I was kind of hoping to use it almost as like a way to meet other like-minded people to be friends with, and something to cover in my thing. But unfortunately I didn't really have good recording gear at that time, so I didn't have any opportunity to record it. But it ended up being almost a cliquish spectacle because people came there with their friends
Is
and they
she
were only
Asian?
talking to their friends. Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
I think I found
And yeah, and it was a disappointment in that people weren't talking to each other. They were coming and then they were like reading, or they were chatting with their friends, and I came there alone, so I felt kind of like it was a spectacle. It wasn't really a community thing. And also I found it fascinating, kind of frustrating, but fascinating that we were surrounded by people going, "Ooh," and taking pictures, and it almost kind of cracked me up. But at the same time, I don't know if we changed anyone's mind, and it's like the handful of public things that happen, a lot of the responses are, oh, they're just doing it for attention. Like I get that comment all the time, and especially in person, you see these like news reports written about it or whatever, and the comments are all like, oh, they're just looking for attention. They don't think that there can be validity in you actually trying to promote this controversial cause of non-sexual nudity. And I find it frustrating. I do understand, like you were just saying, which again is a really good point, that just because people are treating it as porn doesn't mean that that's their whole personality. I also I hesitate to bring this up because you do focus mostly on naturism, and so a lot of your followers, I would assume, follow you because they want to hear content about naturism. I, as a personality-based content creator, and I got to come up with a better term for that because it sounds really egotistical, but I do face a lot of pressure. You were saying earlier, people tell you, I want you to do more of this, I want you to do less of this. And I find it very frustrating because it's like, I really like video games. Video games are very important to me. It's not just a hobby. I find the idea of like storytelling and artistry and everything with video games undervalued by a lot of people, even now. And I'll have a lot of nature's followers who, a lot of them, for instance, a lot of them are middle-aged and they just don't care about video games. And so they're like, I don't want you to have video games. And it, like you said, just don't watch those videos, And lately I have decided that, like I said, I'm going to go back to focusing on my gaming channel. I'll probably still do like daily vlogs like I started doing a couple of weeks ago, just to talk about other stuff. But there's almost this like, I'll show you feeling where it's like, you don't want me to talk about video games? What if I talk only about video games? And, I would love it if, people that have followed me for my personality-based content will continue to follow me, even if they can't see my chest. But I do expect there's going to be a lot of people that already are like, I only follow you when you talk about naturism. So I'm not going to have those people come follow me over, and that's fine. I mean, there's channels like yours, that are focused on naturism, and like the Follow Back Fridays, a lot of the accounts that are mentioned, like all their posts are just about naturism. And so I can understand, like, if you're interested, like for instance, on YouTube, if I'm looking up funny cat videos, it's irritating when all of a sudden it's like somebody talking about themselves. Like, that's not what I watched this video. I wanted to watch funny cats, And so I can understand, if someone is mostly focused on something and then all of a sudden it becomes more about them. But at the same time, from my side of things, it can, like, naturism, like I said, I don't wake up thinking about naturism. Like I have many other things that I'm interested in besides just talking about being naked. And also I kind of feel like I'm stuck in this rut of being frustrated at being treated sexual, and like talking about negativity. Like I'm trying, one of the reasons also I'm trying to get back into the gaming and stuff, like I said, it's giving me a chance to talk about something besides dealing with being treated as a sexual person. So sorry.
So I don't know if that was a question, but I'll tell you my opinion about it.
Okay.
The reason why I only share content related to naturism is because that's the type of content I like to share.
Yeah.
And
no, I'm not trying to say that your content's bad.
Yeah. No, I'm
just saying
I'm
it's
giving
different.
you my explanation. Like
Okay.
you told me your thought process when you create something.
Hmm.
My thought process is I like naturism. I like talking
Hmm.
about naturism, but I don't consider myself to be a content creator, to be
Hmm.
honest with you. I think creating content for me is just a tool that I use to communicate and to build community. But my
Yeah.
goal, as I said before, is to make naturism mainstream.
Yeah.
So the process of content creation, I'm not sharing content because I love sharing content, because I'm
Okay.
passionate about creating content. I don't mind it. I think it's like I've grown to enjoy it, but I've always started to do it because I knew that it was going to be a good way to engage with people,
Hmm.
to remain relevant, and to have like an influence on opinion or things like that. So that has a lot to do with it. There's other aspects of my life that I enjoy having private, like
Hmm.
for example, I didn't play video games until the pandemic started. I started playing old school RuneScape, which is a game that I played when I was 14 years old. Um,
Yeah.
and I tried other games. I tried Minecraft. I didn't like it. I tried other
Yeah.
games, and they weren't as engaging. So
Yeah.
I went back and started playing old school RuneScape, and I started consuming
Hmm.
content creators from old school RuneScape. And
Hmm.
some of these content creators have been creating old school RuneScape content for so long that
Hmm.
they no longer feel satisfied with what they're doing.
Yeah.
They want to
Yeah.
try new content. And since I like these content creators, I tried to watch the videos of the other games.
Hmm.
But as I said before, like I struggle to find a game that I consider to be engaging or interesting enough. So I decided that I'm not going to watch those videos anymore. I'm not
Yeah.
being nasty and telling them that if they don't create this type of content, I'm not going to consume it.
Yeah.
Like it
Yeah.
doesn't matter. If For me, it's important for the person to be happy, and if the person is happy doing something I enjoy, then I look forward to continuing to consume it. But if the person is not happy doing something I enjoy, even though I enjoy it, I understand. It's like it's fine. I'll find something else. Like it's not
Yeah.
the end of the world. I prefer that person to be happy with what they're doing. And
Yeah.
this thought happened because my girlfriend, or my she was girlfriend at the time, my wife and I started a channel that was like a traveling channel, textile couple kind of channel. And I felt absolutely no passion about those
Hmm.
videos. Like we had to sit down and make a video and talk about whatever, and I was like,
Hmm.
and I thought to myself, like, I imagine this channel becoming extremely successful. Like, this channel makes me a millionaire. And what's
Yeah.
next? Like, I'm going to be a miserable millionaire because my
Yeah.
life status is going to depend on doing something I absolutely hate. And the more time I have to do it, the more resentful I'm going to feel towards doing it. So
Yeah.
my conclusion was, even though this might have potential to
Hmm.
be extremely successful, I rather not be extremely successful if the cost
Yeah.
is doing something I don't like. So she decided to continue on
Yeah.
the channel now, because she likes doing it, and I don't mind participating like in blogs or every now and then, but I don't want
Mhm.
to like sit down, write what I'm going to
Yeah.
talk about it, that kind of stuff. Um,
Yeah.
so my answer to you is, you do you. Like I
Hmm.
don't I don't know if you depend on this financially to the point where if you're not doing this, you're going to starve. And if you
It's
are,
been a money sink basically the whole time. For me, it's a
okay,
passion project. So
then it's in your best financial interest to do what you enjoy. And
hmm.
if people don't like it, that's fine. They'll survive. They'll
Yeah.
find someone else to consume the content. It's not your responsibility to
Yeah.
please others.
Yeah. That brings me to a big point. It's when are you
I'm
okay.
done.
Sorry. It's like the awkwardness of Zoom where you're always like accidentally talking over each other. Yeah. And that's what I was trying to intimate earlier is over the years, there's definitely things I know that I could have done to be more successful. But, like you said, I don't want to do something that's going to make me miserable. I don't want to do something that I feel like goes against my values. And unfortunately, there's layers to this. So for instance, there's this one channel, I don't even know if it's still around on YouTube, but it infuriated me because her videos were teaching you Japanese, but it would be one word and the camera was like straight down on her boobs. And I'm all for people like, again, genuinely saying, hey, I'm a sex worker, I'm here to promote whatever. But I get frustrated when people do something like that, but then be like, oh, I just happened, like, a lack of authenticity. But yeah, like back when I focused on video game, I keep hearing myself say like, and it's driving me crazy. Anyway, back when I was focused on video games, the videos that got the most views were me playing horror games, which, happens for a lot of people. Like I said, PewDiePie, and I don't know why that's the one name that keeps popping in my head. I never even really watched him, but I don't enjoy being scared. I don't like feeling like nervous and stuff. As much as I love video games, like it's not an enjoyable experience to me.
Mhm.
So I would have been more successful if I stuck to horror games, but I genuinely, when I scream, it's like me actually getting, scared. And also because my content is so diverse just from the beginning, I feel like I'm not giving people false expectations. It's not like I was only doing Minecraft videos and then suddenly I switched.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can, by all means, if you want to, like you said, it's your channel. But if you're doing this as a business, be aware that it's going to hurt your views. You might find a new crowd. You're going to have, especially if you're already big, you're going to have some followers who are so passionate about you that they'll follow you to the new one, but a lot of people won't. But again, I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't think that, deciding to switch the focus of your channel is going to be a big thing. Because like when I stopped updating my video game channel and I focused on Topless Topics, I was also putting, my video game stuff on Topless Topics. I was just talking about video games with my shirt off. And for me, it's like, honestly, exactly the same. Like I'm saying exactly the same things. I'm just doing it as a representation of being topless. But yeah, I like your attitude of, if a content creator stops interesting you, you just move on. You weren't rude about it and you weren't like demanding. Now it's gonna, on a numbers basis, it's depressing to see your numbers drop a lot. But at the same time,
I don't watch. I stopped watching my metrics when the channel exploded. I completely stopped watching them because I was addicted to the numbers.
Yeah.
Since YouTube updates like on a minute basis, like I would just refresh.
Yeah.
And
I know it's hard to avoid that.
That causes a lot of unhappiness.
Yeah.
A lot of stress.
And I like it. Yeah. And I like it when big creators share that feeling. Cause like you're saying, I don't think that it's, for me, I don't think I dislike seeing confidence just in and of itself. But if someone acts like, I don't know, never mind. I don't want to get into that. I just wanted to finish with talking about stuff that you're not passionate about. That's why, for instance, like people will suggest comments or topics to me. And it's, since I started getting a lot of news followers, it's basically always nudist related stuff, even stuff that I've already done videos about. And it's like, I don't really have anything else to say about that. So instead of making, oh my God.
Ask me about erections.
I know.
About it. It's like, what more
I do want to make a video specifically about that because I haven't actually talked about it in a video as one subject, and I do get a lot of the same comments, and I want to reassure people who are actually interested in naturism. Like, you've probably said this in your videos already, but it can be a problem at first because you're nervous, but as long as you're not using that as permission to do things, you'll get used to it.
Because being nervous and having erections don't usually go together. Like,
oh, see,
yeah,
I got different responses from guys. I don't know. I've never dealt with it. So
my experience and the experience that I've been able to presence with the hundreds of guys that participated in our events, generally, like when you get nervous, you don't get an erection.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of sexual anxiety. Like if you were nervous and you wanted to get an erection, you probably wouldn't be able to normally.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. The other thing is it's not nearly as common as someone would imagine
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
we're nervous, but also because, as I mentioned, like we are
Mm-hmm.
reasonable human beings who have the capability of separating
Mm-hmm.
something that is inherently erotic or something that
Mm-hmm.
isn't. And it all has to do with like the context of the situation.
Mm-hmm.
If you're thinking about something sexual, then you will get turned on. If you're not thinking about something
Yeah.
sexual, you will not get turned on.
Yeah. I got a big point about that. So let's see if whatever, I'll finish writing it later. I talking about the kinds of people that I enjoy interacting with versus people that I like to block. I feel like, I'm very outspoken about please don't make sexual comments about me on my videos. And when, especially in like a live stream, like I said, if someone makes a comment and I tell them like, please don't make comments like that, and then they continue to make comments like that, to me, it demonstrates that they're toxic, that they're a troll because they're choosing to disrespect my wishes.
Yeah.
And to me, I don't think I'm ever going to change that person's mind about treating me sexual. And I don't want to have to keep dealing with that. If I wanted to read comments,
You
treating me
don't
like an
have to.
object, I just go read my YouTube comments. Like,
You don't have to
so,
be
and then, yeah. And so like I've gone back and forth as far as deleting comments on YouTube. I've had the stance before where I think it's important to leave it so people who genuinely do care about the female experience understand what we have to go through. But at the same time, people seeing negative comments encourages them to also, say a negative
I
thing if that's how they
I
feel.
used to authorize the comments. Like all the comments that
Yeah.
were made public were authorized by me. And the
Yeah.
reason why I did this is because I know that when a woman was watching my video, she would read the
Mm-hmm.
comments. And if most of the
Mm-hmm.
comments are nasty, she was going to be like frightened.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to take part in that because she
Yeah.
thinks that the people that are commenting represent the people that participate.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's kind of where I am now, except that the difficulty of making it approval only, first of all, like YouTube's like you approve it and then you have to go to the video to reply to it, is whatever. And yeah, like I said, I really want to encourage other people to be content creators, be aware of the kind of responses you're going to have to deal with, especially like doing content like mine. Like I know I can never hold public office and stuff like that. um I try to encourage people to be content creators, and like I said, understand, like you said, that comments aren't necessarily have anything to actually do with you. It's just the person being negative. I also generally don't have comments on if it's an interview, because people can say what they want about me, but I don't want them to be toxic to my guest.
Yeah.
And I know that engagement wise, talking about blowing up or whatever, ideally you just let anyone do whatever they want and you're going to get more and more views. But for me, again, if I had done this differently, I probably would have been more popular than I am now. But I, to a point, believe value. I prefer value over volume. I would rather have a smaller group of viewers who are not just following me for sexual gratification than have big numbers, but it's all, not people that I want to engage with. But again, having this conversation with you, you are definitely giving me some food for thought as far as, they might say something, but it doesn't mean they're unreachable. It just means this is their opportunity to say stuff like that. Two things, and then I'll shut up for a while. One thing that I do say a lot in my videos and when I talk to people is, if you are actually interested in changing the way your brain works as far as non-sexual nudity or even just female nipples, being able to treat a topless woman with respect, not disregarding her wishes, you cannot masturbate watching my videos. And I get so many guys who are like, oh, I can't help it. It's like, yes, you can. You're not an animal, you're making the decision. I mean, I feel, I'm not a man, so maybe I'm wrong in this regard, but I feel like you're just insulting yourself if you say, I can't help but masturbate. You're saying like, I have no control over myself.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying you can't have sexual thoughts, because you do have to,
But that's a
go
narrative
against your...
that men were fed, that
Mhm.
boys will be boys
Yeah,
and
exactly.
sexual urges, like men can't control their sexual urges. It's
Yeah,
bullshit
yeah.
that we were taught and educated to
Hmm.
believe, but it is bullshit.
Yeah, and that's, that's why I'm saying, I'm not saying you can't have a sexual thought, because you are going to have to deal with that. It's all about your action. I severely doubt any man out there is so consumed with lust that he physically cannot restrain himself. I think that men who
I wouldn't go
do
that far, but I don't know.
I think that men who do watch my videos, boys, men, whatever.
I would say
um
99% of your audience can perfectly control.
okay, 99% then. I think that you do have to kind of evaluate, do I actually want to change my perception of myself? Like one of the videos I put out that I actually encourage people to watch, which is funny because it wasn't really planned, it was just kind of off, is The Fallacy of Good Men. And it basically talks about human psychology, how we have these perceptions of the kind of person that we are, and sometimes it's negative, sometimes it's positive. But if your goal is to evolve into a more empathetic person, or just someone who can see other people's perspectives, you can't go into it already telling yourself, I am this kind of person. I'm not racist because I don't say the n-word or something. Like, there's different layers of racism, feminism, stuff like that. And
I
I
have a question.
find, huh?
Why does it matter if someone masturbates while they're watching your videos?
Because I feel like they're disrespecting the mission of and it's like, if they're going to do it, and they're going to do it. But I feel like when they specifically mention it to me, like in the comments or whatever, after I've said, even in that same video, please don't say stuff like that,
Yeah.
it's almost it's an act of aggression. It's like
Yeah. Well, they're
the
defying. Yeah, it's defying you, right?
yeah,
Like you say, don't do it, and they're like, I'm going to do it.
yeah. And it's like it,
But
so I don't
asking
know,
them
you're
not to do it, in a sense, isn't inviting them to.
mhm, disinvite. I don't know. I think
I
if they're
mean,
going to
it's
do it, they're
like
going to do
if
it.
I say, I don't know, if I share publicly that I feel really uncomfortable about my eyes, and no one has ever said anything about my eyes, but it's something that I don't like. I'm being, I don't know, I'm just
Yeah.
making something up. And then people start saying, your eyes look like this, or making memes or whatever. Like, wasn't it an invitation? I mean, I understand that in your sense, since you're nude and men objectify you, it's very likely for a guy to say, "Wow, I masturbated. Like my masturbation was extraordinary because of your video or whatever." I don't know.
Oh, it's not unlikely. I get comments like that all the time.
Yeah, but and I understand that your mission is to normalize female breasts and to
Mhm.
normalize nudity and desexualize it in a sense. But the way that I think is I could care less what people do with my content. Like I don't care if
Mhm.
people masturbate, if they I don't care what they do. Like I honestly don't
Yeah.
care what they do, because the moment that I post something, I know that it's public and it's completely outside of my control.
Yeah.
So I don't even think it's worth the time or effort to worry about it.
Okay.
I I think there's power in vulnerability, the way
Mhm.
that I see it. If I'm choosing to share my content, I'm choosing, like, I'm trying to share a message. And I know
Right.
that some people will understand the message. And those are the people that I'm creating the content for. There's probably going to be a lot of other people that either disagree or disaffy, or like they just don't care about the message. And I don't care because I can't select my audience. I have no tools to say people who agree with me view it, people who disagree with me can't view it. It doesn't matter.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm not saying that.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
the way that, and I'm not saying that what you do is wrong by any means, because I understand that as a woman, you've been objectified your entire life, and I haven't. I don't know what it feels like to associate my physical appearance with my self-worth. I have no idea what that's like. I don't understand it,
mhm.
and I'm not judging. Not judging the way that you react to it, but I guess what I'm trying to say is that it's it's impossible to control how someone consumes your content the moment that you post it.
Mhm.
And personally, like out of mental health, I'm not an expert, but something that has
Yeah.
helped me is don't even worry about it.
May I go ahead?
Go ahead. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, sorry, I just didn't want to cut you off. I'm going to respond to that, and then I'm going to need a break because I just drank a lot of coffee.
Sure.
So my hesitation with what you're talking about is, and I'm not trying to make this sound like I'm attacking you by any means,
No, go ahead.
but what I'm kind of hearing is echoes of she asked for it. So
No.
it's like she wore a short skirt, so she's inviting sexual comments.
Yeah.
I get a lot of the same things. She's topless, so she's inviting sexual comments. And so I feel like it can be ambiguous going in because you are dealing with the societal assumptions. So it would be unfair if I didn't say anything about I'm representing non-sexual nudity, please don't leave comments. It would be unfair for me to just be like, why are you saying that?
Yeah.
My thing, what I was going to say earlier is it's sort of the equivalent of unsolicited dick pics,
Yes.
which you should always ask. I don't think it's ever okay to just send it to someone unless it's like a very specific like sex, finding a sex partner and you're like supposed to upload,
That doesn't work. I don't think that's strategy.
Yeah.
Like
And
no one has seen like, oh wow, this is a gorgeous dick. Like I have to meet this guy.
I don't know. Some guys seem like they think it does, and it's just so strange to me because
I do want to clarify.
Okay.
I am under no circumstances saying that if a woman is nude in public, she deserves to get any type of negative attention.
Right. No, I wasn't trying to say you feel that way.
What I am trying to say is as soon as you choose to be a public persona, you're under public scrutiny.
Yeah.
And public scrutiny can go so many arbitrary ways.
Yeah.
And it's healthier for you as an individual to not worry about it as much.
Yeah. Well, I like to fantasize that if I was successful enough, I could hire like a social media manager who could kind of field the questions and kind of take the aggression out of it and just be like, so some people are asking, about this or whatever.
Isn't that an artificial experience? Isn't it fake?
To have someone kind of curate. No, I think it helps your mental health.
Well, in a sense, it's protecting you, but you're in essence still being affected by it. You just decide not to see it because you think that when you don't see it, it doesn't affect you. But then again, people's opinion still affects you. My point is the easiest way to get around this is to simply not care about what people think of you.
Mm-hmm. Well, the final thing I was going to add to that point is, talking about leaving comments or not, for the purposes of my mission, and it feels weird saying mission, but and again, I could be completely wrong with this, but I feel like leaving all these, even if they're not toxic, even if they're like a compliment, I feel like leaving the overwhelming amount of those tells other people coming there, one, like you're saying, if a woman makes content, she's going to get a lot of comments like that. So that's why there's so few female content creators, because they know that they're going to, it takes a lot to get that. And of course, every time someone Googles you from then on, that's what they're going to find. There's going to be a lot of, critique of that. And also because people are more likely to share your content, it's more likely for people to find, where I think if you're, not so sexually objectified, then yeah, your stuff's going to get shared. But unless, I'm guessing, this is totally unfounded research, but I'm guessing like only people that are already going to like gay porn sites are going to find male stuff. But anyway, I just don't want to reinforce. I think people are always going to think whatever is already present on a platform or whatever is okay. That's why it's like, there's all these like Facebook groups where the whole thing is talking about hating whatever. And so if they go to a group like that and there's not really any comments or people are being respectful, they only a troll who wants to be toxic and divisive is going to throw out, well, I think bleep is bleep. But if that's what they see everybody else posting, then it's like, oh, carte blanche, let's, be as hateful as we feel like. So
and another thing that I do want to say is I'm not saying by any means don't talk about it, don't say it,
Hmm.
like let it be. I think you should
Hmm.
be very vocal about it, and I think it's great that you're expressing that it's wrong to do it because you're educating people. But the only thing that I was trying to ask is more like, don't let it affect you,
Right.
because despite that that's your objective or your mission, you will get nasty people who want
Right.
to attack you. And if you
Yeah.
give them the right to hurt you, they will hurt you.
Right. Well, that's why I really have to go, really have to go after I say this, but that's why my idea of hiring a social media manager isn't that I have no idea. Like, I'm not saying don't ever tell me anything bad, but rather filter out the underlying intent
Mm-hmm.
after taking out the insulting parts where it's just like, you're so ugly, you should talk about blah. Instead of hearing the you're so ugly part, I'm hearing that you should talk about blah. And then I
Yeah, I
can
think out of time
take it or,
management, it's a good idea to have someone to
yeah.
filter the relevant things, but not
But at the same
necessarily
thing,
because,
I'm a control freak. So I don't know if I could ever
yeah,
say
and it's
okay
not
to that.
necessarily to protect you from a nasty experience. It's more like you
Yeah.
don't, if you become famous, you don't have the time to read
Yeah.
and reply to the comments. I stopped
Exactly.
replying to comments, but go, let's take a,
Okay.
so we've continued after a quick restroom break. We were talking about how not to allow people to affect your emotional state of being
Yeah.
through being nasty online. But I do want to mention once again that I think that the educational process is very important. So it's important to
Hmm.
express that this type of behavior is wrong and that you don't expect it. Just if someone does comment what you told them not to do, don't
Hmm.
let it emotionally affect you, because it can create a very unhealthy environment of your
Yeah.
experience online.
Yeah. And that is something that I'm working on because I definitely have strong opinions just like in my everyday life. And, I get very excited. And I also, I've never had it confirmed, but I think I'm on the autistic spectrum in that I have a really hard time reading other people. So sometimes I'll say something and it has completely the opposite effect of what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
But I I get really excited like very easily. And sometimes my excitement kind of comes across as like almost an act of aggression. And I
Yes.
really don't mean it that way. It's just like, I don't know. Like it's funny because people will say like, you're very honest, and they act like they like it until I accidentally offend them and then they don't like it anymore.
I get that. That happens to
But
me sometimes.
yeah,
But I think it's
but
because you have a very passionate personality.
yeah, I know. I'm very like, it's funny because I kind of make fun of YouTubers who are like, smash that like button, and it ties back into the inauthenticity. But maybe that is what they really are. It's just, to me, it's a big departure from this is my weird self to this is me trying to appeal to commercials kind of thing. But anyway, yeah, talking about how letting comments affect you or kind of categorize your comment or your work. One of the things that I find extremely vexing is the topic of kids around nudism.
Mm-hmm.
And
What's
I've never
uh,
shown my
I'm
huh
not familiar with the word vexing.
frustrating,
Okay.
causing me irritation.
Yes.
um
Okay.
Also the name of a really weird sci-fi show, but I'm frustrated in that parenting is a big part of my life.
Mm-hmm.
um I mean, I don't know if I'd say like I wouldn't make a channel just to talk about parenting. I don't really have that much to say about it, and especially because I don't want to, I'm not really giving advice for parenting. I'm just saying like this has been my experience with potty training or stuff like that. um but I've had see, this is something that a lot of people are very divisive about, and I'm probably in the minority here, but it's very frustrating to me that I can't even be topless near my fully clothed child without people saying like, oh, people are going to sexualize your child because they're in this video. And to me, it's just, it keeps reinforcing that it's sexual, it's sexual, it's sexual. And I would love, if naturism ever does go mainstream, I would love the majority to be saying, no, you're the one making it, you, the commenter, are the one making it sexual.
Mhm.
But because there's so much stigma, but it's just frustrating because ideally, like, having my 2-year-old ask, why are you topless? And I tell him, because I just want the same rights as daddy, because daddy always goes without a shirt, no one cares, right? I feel like that innocence really drives home the fact that treating, women's bodies, or just bodies in general, but especially women's nipples and breasts, as inherently sexual is a learned cultural thing. I
Yeah.
don't think that kids are born thinking,
Are
boobs
you
equal sex.
regularly topless around your house? Like on a day-to-day basis?
Uh, I would be, except like I said, we don't have a lot of privacy. Like
Does
there's
that mean your neighbors could see inside your house or?
well, because I like natural light, I don't want to always be in the darkness. And like there's a sidewalk right in front of our house that people are always walking their dogs. And in our backyard, we only have chain link fence, and there's also a house that kind of looks down in our yard. And one neighbor I've already had conversations with, and she and I are basically on the same page as far as we would love to just be able to, go topless just like men. But the rest of my neighbors are fairly conservative. And again, going back to the kids thing, I've had people freak out on Twitter. Like there was this whole thing where I had a picture for a very long time where it was my son, my baby son, breastfeeding, and you couldn't even see anything. It was just shirt, head. And I had that as my profile picture for a long time because I also am a big proponent of normalizing public breastfeeding, because that's what they're for. They're there for feeding your child. And a lot of people are like, oh, just put a cloth over it or something. And it's like, first of all, a lot of kids don't, they rip the cloth off. They don't want to keep it on. And also it's reinforcing, oh, boobs are shameful or whatever. And not even that long ago, it was very normal for like a woman to just, put a babe on there in the middle of church. It wasn't treated as sexual. That's just a more recent development. And so, having that, I had that profile picture for a really long time. And then there was this guy who, I'll explain the relevancy in a minute, but his profile picture was him cross-playing, playing someone of a different gender, Catwoman, in this like very sexualized pose. And he, from what I remember, his first comment was basically sexualizing me. And I was like, hey, don't, comment like that. And then he went on this whole thing where he was like, my children should be taken away by CPS because I have my shirt off in videos online. And he obviously reported my channel because all of a sudden my Twitter suspended me for that picture. And there was another picture I had after that, like, didn't have any picture. I was like, fine, I'll just leave it an egg. Again, 2 years ago. And so my profile picture for the last 2 years has been me topless with guns hiding my nipple. Fine, that's fine. Guns are awesome. Female nipples are banned. And talking about blocking porn bots, I there's a couple of people that I report, and it's men with like erect penises as their profile pic, because I kind of figure,
yeah.
if I'm not allowed to just be topless, then they shouldn't be allowed to have their like but anyway. So and the last thing I was going to throw in about the kids thing is, again, it's frustrating that the only places I could really be topless are places that allow full porn. So for instance, Plex Storm, they have a very strict anti-kid policy, and it's nerve-wracking for me because, I only stream either while my husband is downstairs watching the kids or while they're, taking a nap or whatever. But they're very good at like unlocking and stuff like that. And I'm just so scared that one time they're going to run on screen for 2 seconds and my channel will get banned. Because it's like, oh, there was a child on there for 2 seconds. It's like, I'm not bringing him on here to go like, oh, look at my kid. Like, kids invade. That's what they do. And so it's just frustrating, as always, that because I'm automatically categorized as porn, anything within my radius is also, categorized as like something sexual. So
Yeah. I
anyway.
don't really know what to say when it comes to children because
Yeah.
I don't have children, and I don't know if we will.
Mm-hmm.
It's not necessarily within our plans. So it's really hard for me to give my opinion on what something should be on that topic.
Yeah.
I just feel like I'm not in the place where
Yeah.
and I don't know. I
Well,
honestly don't know. I think
yeah. Well,
it would be beneficial for children to grow up with a
Hmm.
non-erotized body
Hmm.
education. I
Hmm.
think that would benefit them. But
Yeah.
how to enforce it and what the community should do and how social media should handle it, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely a hot button issue because like there was this whole thing where there was this picture. It was a black and white picture of a woman holding her son in the shower, and you can't even see anything. Like you can tell that they're naked, but there's nothing showing. And she shared, she posted this photo, and then she got in like all this trouble for it. And she shared the story that basically, I mean, it's been a while since I read it, so I don't remember exactly the details, but it was a terrifying moment. Oh, sorry, it was the dad holding it. She was the one that took the picture because she was a photographer. Anyway, it was this terrifying moment where the kid had a super high fever and was really like crying and everything. And they were in the cold shower holding him, trying to comfort him and help him feel better. And it was like the vulnerability of, wow, I'm like suddenly emotional. The vulnerability of being a parent and, your baby's hurting and
Yes.
you're trying to do everything to make them feel better. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm like crying all of a sudden. So she put this picture, and it was to like share the experience of being a parent and caring
Yeah.
so much about your kid, but because you can tell they're naked, of course all the comments are like sexual, and it's like the epitome of where our society is, where nothing can be about it. If a person is naked or even just a topless woman, it can only be about sex. There's nothing else that can ever be the main focus. And like a lot of photographers get in the same position where they can't share anything, even classical old paintings that happen to have a woman with her breast out or something gets banned as sexual. The Getty, the giant museum, had their, I can't remember if it was the Facebook page or the Instagram account, but it was banned because they put up a picture of a classical thing that had a naked woman in it. And it's like, if the Getty gets banned on Facebook for a painting, how is there any hope for us? And you look at the terms of service, and what happened with Instagram that got so much worse is back in December 20th, they updated their terms, and they already were anti-sex worker, but they basically made it even more restrictive. And the excuse is the FOSTA SESTA Act, I think it's called, which basically is intended to cut down on child trafficking. But as lots of experts are pointing out, all they're doing is taking that to, unmoderated forums. They were not really using Facebook to share that stuff in the first place. So all it's doing is adding even more restrictive to sex workers. And because I'm a woman, I get kind of scored as a sex worker. But yeah, I am very passionate, obviously, about normalizing nudity, especially not especially, but including family settings, because the whole
Yes.
point is that it's not sexual. It's that, like, I take showers with my son all the time. It's not like I'm like, oh, it's just, or, changing my 2-year-old's diaper. It's like, I'm not like, oh, penis. Like, I don't give a care. It's just my kid. I'm just changing his diaper. But because everyone, 99% of the, society categorizes female nipples as nudity, if I have my kid there, suddenly I'm basically having sex with my kid, in their opinion.
And I mentioned this in a previous conversation, but I
Yeah,
feel like censorship reinforces a negative image of something.
exactly.
The idea of
Exactly.
censorship is to protect, but instead of protecting, it actually causes more harm than it does good
Yeah, it makes it
because
taboo.
you're reinforcing the taboo. And it's really
Mm-hmm.
difficult when you can't even talk about it. Like, for example, I've
Mm-hmm.
had podcast conversations like the ones we're having right now that have been restricted to a certain audience because the word nudity or body or whatever
Yep.
is dangerous. So if you can't even have the conversation with someone who's developing the way their view of the world, like a child, then what are the hopes then when they grow up, they don't see this as something inherently wrong or evil?
Yeah, exactly.
And
Yeah, if
and
that's
I
the
think
only
that,
comments they're seeing.
yeah, like
So,
going back to the prohibition of being restrictive, being limited, I think prohibition is extremely harmful because it doesn't stop people from doing what they were going to do, but it makes them
exactly.
do it in a very dangerous
Yeah.
setting.
Yeah.
So people
Yeah.
will still do what they wanted to do. They will still view pictures of people having sex or videos or
Yeah.
whatever. But when you take it out of the realm of a place that can be moderated and maintained
Mm-hmm.
in a healthy manner, you get like really nasty
Mm-hmm.
radicalizations that are in fact harmful.
Yeah.
But
And of course
it's the censorship that's causing that to happen.
yeah, yeah. And of course the excuse you hear a lot, well, there's two main excuses I hear for like Facebook banning everything. One is they're a private business, they can do whatever they want, which honestly I feel like is not, at this point, it's not a fair assessment, because it's like we have restrictions on television,
They have a
and
huge
yeah,
influence in the world. Like
yeah, I mean,
they're
undeniably.
public. They're very public. I think
Yeah,
something you post on Facebook is way more public than something you do outside of your house.
yeah, exactly. And so saying like, oh, it's their site, they can do whatever they want, I feel like is a dishonest freedom to, because they're making the decisions. They're making the decisions. Like the Samantha Bee show, she's like basically the only late night host, and I really like her show, but she has like little end caps when they upload parts of her show onto YouTube. And one of the ones I love is like, if you like this video, leave a comment. Or if you'd like to be radicalized, leave YouTube on autoplay. And to have this like very mainstream thing acknowledge that is kind of gratifying and yet frustrating. Or the SNL episode, Saturday Night Live episode from last weekend, there's a scene making fun of the Bridgerton show where they had an intimacy coach and they have like this like pervy guy or whatever. And he has these like green nipples, and the woman's like, oh, I don't think that I need that. And then her director comes in and is like, are you sure? Because if we green screen them out, then we can show this on any mainstream television. I was like, yes, validating to see it on there. But yeah, going back to censorship on Facebook and stuff like that, like I said, I would love it if there was an option to say, hey, my content is nude, but it's not sexual. So if you are okay with nudity, but not sexuality, or sexually explicit, you can check the one and not the other. But like you said, platforms are treating people like children. And oh, and the other excuse they give is that, Facebook is so large or whatever that they can't possibly moderate everything. But there was a tech podcast I listened to a while ago, and it really kind of opened my eyes, where they were saying, if governments were to change it where, every 1,000 clicks on, very easily proved like anti-vaccine thing, or whatever, like provably false information, or like Nazi propaganda or something like that, if they were to get charged at $1 for every 1,000 views that got, suddenly they'd be magically overnight be able to develop something that could actually find that particular content. But right now there's no motivation financially, because for some reason commercials are fine with being, it's like you see these boycott whatever things or whatever, and it only happens when someone says something so egregious that it finally gets into that realm where like, okay, that's not allowed. So now we should all, tell these companies not to show, like, again, I'm not trying to get too political, but like Alex Jones saying that Sandy Hook was fake, the devastation of kindergartners being killed by guns, saying that was fake and an inside job. To me, that should be disqualifying for commercialization, at least a lot more than just me sitting there without a shirt talking about a video game. But
of course. So going way back to the beginning of our conversation, how did you come up with the idea of Topless Topics, and what was your objective behind it, and how has that evolved over time?
So, as I said, I was raised a nudist. So for me, I always understood, that nudity is not sex. A big part of it was the frustration, because that was around my mid-20s, because I'm 35 now. And I, like I said, like going to the party, being comfortable being topless, but then asking him if he'd ever go nude in front of his 10-year-old. It was like, no, 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 no. And it made me want to talk about that and to be like, this doesn't make any sense to me. Another big impetus is that there's an actress, I don't know, host called Trisha Hirschberger, who used to be a host on SourceFed, which was this big channel that they like talked about celebrity gossip or whatever, but they also talked about a lot of other things. And it was one of the first highly polished shows, but it was still made by like normal people. It's just normal people that had skills. It still wasn't like funded by, you know, Fox News or Fox Studio or Century 21 or whatever. And she started this vlog series called The Naked Truth. And she would do all the videos from the shoulders up. And she said that the reason she started the channel is that in acting classes, they were told if you do your videos without a shirt on, you know, or without clothes on, you're kind of exposing your natural self. Kind of like we were saying, you know, in naturist spaces, you kind of put clothes on to be a certain, to give a certain impression. But being naked is just because you like being naked. So she said that that was something that she learned in acting school. And I did a couple of response videos, which used to be a lot more of a thing. Now they're kind of disregarded as just trying to like use someone else's fame. But, or, you know, drama mongering, like we were saying. But anyway, so I did a couple of responses to that. And I actually was surprised by how many like thoughtful responses I got. And I didn't really get that many pervy ones. And so I got excited and I was like, hey, I want to make this a whole thing. And so I started Topless Topics, and the first, I want to say, few months, I had my hands in the way. And I kept getting these comments that were like, you know, you're a hypocrite or whatever. And part of me was like, oh, they just want to see me naked. But then the other part of me was like, I do want to normalize non-sexual nudity. So I started doing it without my hands in the way. And I was safe for like half a year. And then all of a sudden my stuff got banned. And we didn't even really talk too much about our personal experiences with censorship. But like, I just recorded a video with another creator, which I don't know, I'm probably just going to put like a super blurry version on YouTube or whatever so people can hear it. But he has a channel called Normalizing Nudity, and he started it like a year and a half ago, and he has fully naked videos on it. A lot of them are women, because he was already a photographer that worked with like boudoir and erotic or whatever. And it makes sense because those women are already used to being, you know, publicly seen in the nude. A lot of other women, you know, who aren't involved with even, you know, softcore porn or, you know, erotic stuff, are not going to want to open themselves up to those kind of comments. But he puts fully naked videos up, and he hasn't gotten all the way banned. Although he did have he said he had an old channel he did, and sometimes they would show like the process of taking the photos, and that one got banned. But he started this new one, and it's just, he asked them some questions off camera, and then they talk about it. And it was a really interesting interview. And I really hope that I can like at least have people listen to it, even if I can't show it. But I told him in the interview, I'm like, I am so jealous that you have fully naked videos on your channel, whereas I get banned for box down. And he was just like, I don't know why that is, you know, I don't know. And again, it goes back to me wondering if I have like just a dedicated cabal of haters that report all my stuff, because how else, you know, am I
don't
facing
know.
so much more?
I had fully nude people on hundreds of videos, and I was
Mhm.
able to get away with it for 3 years. I knew
Mhm.
exactly how the algorithm worked, and I
Mhm.
knew exactly what I needed to feed it in order for it not to flag my videos.
Mhm.
But it came to a point where I was so good at it that I think someone in YouTube found the channel and said, this guy is abusing the algorithm,
Mhm.
and I'm going to eliminate it. And it was
Yeah.
taken down arbitrarily. I didn't have any
Yep.
strikes on the channel when it was eliminated.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I have seen a lot of channels like this one or vlogs or things like that.
Mhm.
And they have been able to go under the radar for some time. But I
Yeah.
think that as soon as they become big enough or
Yep.
generate enough traffic,
And
they
enough
will be
haters.
taken down. And the thing
Yeah.
is, it's not a matter of people reporting it. Like, I would get my videos reported hundreds of thousands of times,
Hmm.
and I knew how it worked. Like, I would upload a video, they would take it down, I would appeal it, and they would
Yeah.
immediately take it back.
That's what Normalizing Nudity said he does with his videos. Whereas I have
Yeah.
not had that experience. I feel like every time I get one down and I appeal it, they're just like, no, we stand by our decision. Like every single time.
Well, I think maybe you had to. Well, it depends on the type of content, because I understood,
Yeah.
like, for example, if I was documenting an event and there was 200 or 100 people or whatever
Yeah.
naked and playing around and doing things,
Yeah.
that was fine. Like if it was at a beach, if it was any type of setting. But as soon as it was like in the back, like sitting down, two people talking naked, that
Yeah.
was, it was a big problem. And the last video that I
So
uploaded
weird.
was an interview. Like I was interviewing someone naked. We were both sitting down talking naked. And that caused the channel to be eliminated. But I could have probably uploaded for another 2 or 3 years videos that were
Yeah.
events and things like that. I don't
That's
know.
really interesting. That's really interesting.
So
Yeah, and I
the type of
mean, it's
video
hard.
I have is interesting because it's the interview format. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
I know that's really
I hope not, but I think it's just a matter of time because until we don't address this directly with the
mhm.
platforms as an organized community, they will
Yeah.
arbitrarily eliminate us every time they
Yeah.
want.
Yeah. And I get frustrated, for instance, like I said, that other YouTube where it's straight down on her boobs and she's clearly using her body to get the views, but because she's pretending she's not, she's okay. But as soon as I actually talk about, I'm here to represent blah blah blah, I'm not like pretending as if I'm not topless. Yeah, like you said, interview format, that is what gets banned. And it's just a consideration that, conversation I've had with my followers that I talk to a lot over and over, is it seems like, and again, we don't have the research to prove this, but it seems like the fact that I am, talking about my own body, it's threatening the profitability of sexuality, where it's like, a sexy woman eating a hamburger or whatever. If she were to be like, I'm so sexy, like it wouldn't be as profitable. I
I
don't
don't
know, but
I don't
it's
think so. I mean, I don't want to sound bad or negative, but you would have to have such a massive following in order for that to be considered a threat.
Mm,
I think it's arbitrary. It's completely arbitrary. And another reason why I thought my channel was eliminated when it was eliminated is because before I would dispute it, I would appeal the ban and someone would in person review the video. And as soon as they
yeah,
saw the context of the nudity, it was okay because it was according to their community guidelines. But when COVID started, like, many people were sent home. So they had to
mm-hmm,
reduce the amount of people that could view videos. And I think that they
mm,
probably put them to nastier, more dangerous, violent type of content.
yeah. Oh, I know. I read an article that was so horrifying where it was years ago, and it was an interview with, these like 5 cents an hour employees out in, faraway countries, and they have to watch the most horrific stuff. You get into an area of a hammer in search of a nail where, you have the slightest hesitation, okay, ban it. And I feel for them because,
It's a horrible
especially
thought.
when you're just this like tiny employee, you don't want to get fired because you didn't ban something that the higher ups would have banned. But going back to the frustration of like YouTube community guidelines or whatever is, yeah, like I'll have content that doesn't violate any of it, but it'll still ban it. But then you even get to the specific terminology, like this article that I just mentioned. Part of what they were talking about is Facebook's like terms of whatever they ban, which used to be very secretive, but now they talk about it more. They specifically say no camel toe, which is an extremely sexist description. It's a slang about a woman wearing clothes, and you can kind of tell that she has pubis. And it's just like, it really defines how much misogyny and stuff there is in there. And a lot more attention lately, well, not a lot, but more attention lately is being applied to how homogenous a lot of these tech companies are. They're
Yeah.
started by straight white men. And it's very difficult. You have to really shine a light on these companies before they start getting more diverse staff. And it definitely reflects the product. They might
It has
not
to do
think of
with
themselves.
profitability. They will
Yeah, they
change
might.
as soon as it's profitable or
Yeah,
affects
again.
their finances. It's
Yeah,
about
like
money. It's all
yeah.
about money. And we could
And
protest
regulation.
that and not like it and feel upset,
Mm-hmm.
or we could find ways to embrace it or take advantage of it. And I think
Yeah.
naturism should take advantage with
Yeah.
well, not morals, with ethics, with
Yeah.
values, with
Yeah.
um,
There
I
was actually, oh,
so I
sorry.
want to change a
Go
little
ahead.
bit of the topic. I want to ask you, what is your opinion regarding the naturist community? So you have mentioned that you haven't gone to a lot of clubs and things like that,
Yeah.
but you have had a lot of online interaction with them.
Yeah.
But I do have to mention before we start that the online naturist community and like people you meet in person at a club
Yeah.
or at a beach or something, it's completely different.
Vastly
But
different.
what has
Yeah.
your experience been, and what do you think about them as a?
So that interview I mentioned with Kenny, which used to be at toplesstopics.org/Kenny Nudism, but until I find a new home, those videos are not available. We talked a lot about, again, the lack of diversity at the nudist organizations or whatever. And there's a lot of kind of unaddressed racism, anti-LGBTQ, anti-tattoos and stuff like that. And even my own dad, like I've tried to introduce him to like MeWe and stuff, and he finds them unappealing because it's basically just, men like him, older, straight, white, male nudists, like only finding each other. And like you can have meaningful relationships, friendships with people like that, but it is very homogenous. And I was saying, in my interview with Kenny, that I would really like to see more of an emphasis on things that, like films that were made by people of color, or video, sorry, my phone went off, or video game tournaments or something that might not appeal to the base that you have now. But, all these nudist places are like, why don't we have more young people? And it's because they've been curtailing to their existing base, and there really isn't that much to do. One of the other things that I said a lot in that interview is that, like, again, as much as I support nudism and stuff like that, for me, it's not like a statement. It's just, I feel comfortable being naked. And some places, like we went to Lake Bronson many years ago up near Seattle, and that was wonderful because it had forest and waterfalls, and there was hiking and swimming and everything like that. That was something to do. But the 16 and the youngest person there was 30 something. Oh, sorry, my internet was unstable. The youngest I saw there was like 30, and we were having this really cool conversation. It was so awkward. We were in there's an indoor pool, and we were having this really cool conversation about like movies and stuff, because we had actually just saw the first Incredibles, and I'm really interested in like CGI and stuff like that. And hey, maybe we can like hang out. And it was just, I got this like sexual undertone. I was 16, he was 30, and it was just like, and there's this belief that at a nudist resort or whatever, you won't face comments like that. But it really depends on the person. It depends on whether their support of non-sexual nudity is stronger, or their societally conditioned, women, the best thing you can do for a woman is to, approve her appearance. And it's like, you have to kind of weigh which one is more going to preside over your opinion. The Bear Oaks Park out in Toronto, they have a podcast, I think it's called Nature's Living, and they were kind enough to interview me once really long ago, and then again more recently, talking about censorship. Ironically, it was filmed right before Instagram like really doubled down. But at the beginning part of the interview, the first one with me, where he talked to several women content creator, naturists, about what women face. And even though he is himself, an older straight white male, he really understands the feeling that, what we go through as women creators, as even, young women creators. And I really recommend, maybe listen to the whole podcast, but if you won't listen to the whole podcast, at least listen to the beginning of that one, because I feel like he does a really great way of kind of introducing what it is like to go through, naturist introductions as a woman, but it's coming from the perspective of the whole other group that is usually present. As far as naturists online, there's sort of like two camps of the people that I meet. I have, again, followers that I consider friends, and the ones that I really connect to the most are the ones that I share other interests with, are the ones that like video gaming or talking about kids, or, even better, like a lot of the same stuff that I'm interested in, or artistic stuff. The ones that I don't really connect with are the ones that only want to talk about naturism all the time. And it's like, we never have any conversations about anything else. And I feel like the ones that I can actually become friends with are in the minority, at least the ones that happen to find my content. And I don't know if it's just because, the naturists that only want to talk about naturists are the only ones sharing my content, or what it is, but I'm sure that they're out there. I'm sure more of the, the other camp that I would get along as friends are more out there, but I think it's just a difference in interest and generation. Because there's not that much. But like one of my main people that I talk to, he's an older white passing, he's actually Native American, but guy, but he is a computer programmer, and he doesn't really play games now, but he used to. And like we sort of like have these really cool conversations about like what changed in games. And he also really sympathizes with viewpoints other than his own. And I don't know if that's, I don't want it to sound like I'm demonizing older white men. I'm really not. Like, I have wonderful older white men in my life, but it is very homogenous. And I would like to meet more people who aren't necessarily just in that group. But I'm not saying we can't be friends if you're, in that group, but that is honestly my experience. Is a lot of people just only want to talk about naturism all the time, and like, how much is there really to say about it if you're talking about it like hundreds of videos, each one is like 45 minutes, like what all is there to say about it, I feel like. But sorry if that sounded really harsh.
Not everyone makes 45-minute long videos.
Oh, I know, I never shut up, so
so I wanted to ask you something else before we finish this conversation. And that is, do you think the naturist community should be more active when it comes to social causes, like social justice?
I do. Like you were saying, it's been kind of a insular thing for a while now, and there is a lot of risk. So I understand why, as we said, you face a lot of rejection from friends and family, you get considered a sex worker, stuff like that. But I feel kind of lonely in that even for all the people that I regularly interact with, almost none of them are. And a lot of times it's because they're comfortable in front of a camera. And my response to that is like, I don't think anyone starts out comfortable. Like, you get comfortable as you do it. And if you're afraid of negative comments, you can always just turn comments off. But again, it ties back to the risks with the real life. Most people are not in a privileged position as me, where my family already knows and doesn't care. And, I can always find a different client to work for. And I haven't really made friends since I moved up here. And one of the reasons is that it's been really hard for me to find people that share my hobby interests, but are okay with the fact that I do these topless videos. And it's just like, for some reason, it's just really hard to find an intersection there. So yeah, I do think that naturists should be more vocal. You don't even have to reveal your anonymity, I think. I mean, you can do audio only, even just text only, just being more outspoken, not only talking to other naturists, but actually, say there's a trending topic on Twitter that's like a body positive one or something like that. And 90% of the comments are like, oh, this, slut, she just wants attention. I think that you should jump in the trenches and talk to those people, because not just for that person, but for everybody else reading that response.
Yeah.
Make it a bigger voice saying no, just because she posed, on a magazine doesn't make her a slut or something like that. You have to make it obvious that there are more people, because someone might be thinking that in their head, but they're not going to type it there because they feel like they're going to get attacked by all these haters. So if you can withstand or, understand that it's not really personal, they're just attacking anything, you should be more outspoken. And again, you can do it from an anonymous account. You don't have to let people in your real life know. But yeah, if you can. It's a lot though. You have to really, kind of build up a brick wall, because it does. Like I said, I've been making videos for a long time, and I've definitely gone through cycles where I took it a lot more personal. One piece of advice that I do see a lot, not really from other naturists, but just content creators in general, is it's really good to have some real life support. And I mean, not necessarily real life, but like people you interact with a lot, who are there to kind of ground you and reassure you that, yes, there's a lot of haters out there, but you are still communicating with people who actually support you and stuff. Because if you're totally by yourself and the only interaction you get is haters, like you'll be miserable. You won't want to keep
Yeah.
doing it, and you'll get more and
And
more vengeful.
I think, as I mentioned before, like, people are willing to comment very nasty things online because they're not aware of the impact that it has.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
think that there's that, like, I try to be empathetic, and I try not to see things as good or bad. I try to understand why or where or how something happens. And I think a lot of it is because they're not aware of the impact that it causes. And there's more and more conversation talking about cyberbullying and things like that. And I think that that's going to help people understand the impact, like online sexual harassment, that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. So as I mentioned before, it's very important to have those conversations, just like, but when you are the person who is talking about them and you're exposing yourself online, you have to be aware that you will get a lot of that. And some people are just assholes, and
Yeah.
that's fine. And you have to
Yeah.
learn to live with that. But their opinion about you should never be more important than your opinion about yourself. And also
Yeah.
taking into consideration the intent. Like,
Yeah.
sometimes you make mistakes, and you need your friends and you need your families to express those to you, because you might not understand that you're making a mistake. But don't seek that advice or that, I don't know, confirmation from someone online who knows nothing about you. So whatever good they say or whatever bad they say, it's based off of
Yeah.
arbitrary.
Well, that's why I'm emphasizing people that you communicate with a lot. Like you said, negative and positive comments, if it's just a one-off and that person doesn't really know you, it doesn't have as much weight. Like the people that I talk to regularly, for the most part, if I fuck up, they let me know.
Yeah. And sometimes
But
not even your family is capable of giving you constructive advice. Like,
I mean, they're going to be shaped by their own ideas about that. But you reminded me of another YouTube trope. So I mentioned the pity me apology. There's also this one, I don't know if it's still common, because like I said, I don't really watch people very often, but you used to see a lot of these, like, I see your hater comments and I don't even care. And it was like, the fact that you're making a video shows that you care. So I think a different way of putting it would just be like, I see these comments, and like, I mean, you don't have to do this, but if you want to, you can say, I see these comments, and the overall impression I get from them is that, you think that I don't value what I say, and I'm just using the clickbait of my tits, and to that I say. But I think that you should definitely not film a video right after reading those comments, because you're going to be like, "Argh!" I think that, when you're in a very as stable of a mental space as you can be, you can look at the comments, you can thoughtfully kind of write out what you want to say, not necessarily a script, but just like, this is what it seems like you guys are saying, and this is my response to that. But you can be genuine, by all means be genuine, but don't be like screaming at them or anything. And again, I am a ball of, like, I make many terrible decisions all the time, but because for me, my content is more like a socialization. Like, I'm actually trying to socialize with people. I'm not trying to represent, a perfect example of nudism or whatever. This is just me. But at the same time, there's this thing with, I used to go to 4chan like off and on, and there's this, I call it the oppression or the apathetic Olympics. And it's basically this competition of how can I be the nastiest person while caring the least. And unfortunately, there's a lot of places like that where it's like you get points,
Yeah.
internet points for being the biggest asshole you ever can. And so videos where it's like, I don't even care, are the biggest reward. Now, I have people, sometimes I get really like feisty and I reply to haters or whatever, and people are like, you shouldn't even feed them. But when I do that, for me, it's actually enjoyable. Like for me, it's like a witty repartee. I mean, they're not witty, but I'm witty. But yeah, everyone's different, and there's benefits and there's harm to everything. Like for me, I would say the benefit is you're showing other people that's not okay, but the harm is you're feeding the haters. And you have to be careful. You might be like coming off as aggressive and negative, which I definitely do. So anyway, I think that you're absolutely correct in that you have to be aware that you're going to get horrible comments, and you just have to weigh the benefit of reading them and responding to them, or not even responding like in the
I
comments,
think you
but
have
like
to focus on
having
your
it in your
objective.
videos.
You have
Yeah,
to focus
yeah.
on your objective. If your objective is to make a relevant social transformation, you have to know that there's nasty things that you have to go through, but
Yeah.
your goal is, it's a good goal. It's going to help people.
Yeah.
It's going to make the world a better place, maybe a little bit
Yeah.
better, or it might inspire someone else to make the world a better.
Yeah.
But there's good and bad to
Yeah.
everything. And I think I want to close with another thing that I want to tell you personally. I think that the work that you're doing is especially significant to men. I know that sometimes, like, we want to, I'm not sure if your intention was to focus your audience on men, or probably focus on women that could be empowered or inspired or whatever. But your audience is a male-based audience.
Yeah,
and
big time.
And they can receive an immense amount of value from you expressing these opinions. If they take the time to listen to what you're trying to say and they try to be empathetic, then you're probably not even noticing, but you are having a significant impact.
Yeah.
Because
well, like,
then will no longer replicate, or will at least think about
hopefully,
it before they
yeah.
replicate this specific behavior. So you're educating men.
Well, I wanted to throw in that, as a gamer, my whole life, basically, I've been used to being kind of the lone female in the group. And like way back when, I'd talk on Xbox Live playing a game, and they always insisted I must be a 10-year-old boy, because apparently it's so inconceivable that, a woman would actually enjoy a game like Halo. And so I'm used to talking to guys, I'm used to talking to men. And I think my mission kind of evolved from teaching. I mean, teaching sounds very, kind of egotistical, but letting men know that there are female gamers, and that we don't want to hear, go back to kitchen, make me a sandwich or whatever, like, haha, so funny. It kind of evolved to, also, even with our shirt off, we would like you to not be a gross asshole to us. Mm-hmm. So I think it was kind of a natural process. But I do wish that I had more I wish I had more interaction with women. I am slowly starting to interact with more like trans people, and it's encouraging to me, because it's diversifying the audience a bit. And I also often say that, like, what more greatly highlights the nonsense gender disparity between censorship of female looking chefs and male looking chefs, besides like people, how they express themselves. Like, if a trans woman doesn't, or sorry, if a trans man still puts on lipstick or something like that, they're still going to get treated and banned as if they're, identify with being female. And so I'm encouraged when I slowly start with that. And, if I do get a place to host my videos, I have like a whole list of people that I really want to interview, including you. Like, it'd be nice to do like, I mean, I'll still talk just as much, but but I'm hoping that, as I start to interview like LGBTQ creators and stuff like that, maybe I'll get some kind of different kind of audience. But at the same time, I'm, like I said, I'm not saying if you are a straight white middle-aged man that, like, I don't want you to watch my videos. Like, if they appeal to you, by all means.
Maybe they're the ones that get the most benefit from consuming your content. It's
Yeah, I guess.
well, I remember that when I started, I wanted to choose my audience, but I found out that I can't choose my audience. My audience chooses me.
Yep.
So I'm going to make the best of it, and I'm going to take advantage of their attention to try to convey ideas that I think that are important and relevant and worth.
I could throw one funny thing in about that. I have a friend who is in a band where they dress up. I don't want to give too much info, so let's just say they dress up as a character, and he actually hates kids. But because he puts on this persona, 90% of their audience is like 14 and under, so he has to like, oh hey little, and inside he's like, I hate you.
Yeah,
I just thought that was funny, talking about you don't get to pick your own audience. So it's true. If you're gonna treat it as a profession, or focus on growing your numbers, you're gonna have to just accept that the audience will be whatever it's gonna be.
well,
So that's a
even
good
if
point.
you don't worry about numbers,
Yeah, yeah,
you probably would want to inspire more women, but you can't force them to listen or watch
yeah,
or consume. So
yeah.
it is what it
Especially when they see all these negative comments, it's actually turning them off.
is. Of
So
course, it's scaring them away. So Cleo, I want
yep.
to thank you very much for taking the time, sitting down, talking, getting to know each other. I've been wanting to get to know you for a very long time.
Aw,
We've been interacting online, so I'm glad we finally had that opportunity.
yeah. And this
I
has been I was gonna say, this has been an interesting interview where I feel like you've kind of challenged my perspectives on some things more than I'm used to. Because a lot of times I tend to interview people who at least seem like we're kind of like on the same page about everything. And I appreciate it, because you have really given me like food for thought, especially like kind of reshaping my attitude towards people that follow me that, like I said, may seem like they're only seeing me as a sexual object, but maybe there actually is room for them to change that perception. But so thank you for that.
No, you're welcome. And I like to thank you for the things that you do, your work, your passion, um, I think we're different in many ways, but we have like
Yeah.
the same objectives. And I appreciate you and what you're doing, and keep doing it, and just make sure that you're leaving room to enjoy yourself, and you have a good time. And I think what you're
Yeah.
doing is meaningful and impactful.
Thank
And
you.
I
Yeah.
hope we can collaborate in the future. I would
Yeah.
love to participate and share a little bit about myself. I don't mind
Yeah.
talking about myself.
Okay. Well, good. We'll set a plan. Yeah. And again, I just want to emphasize for anyone who hasn't watched my videos, or maybe used to watch them and kind of stop, I am in the process of trying to redirect my focus and be less angry, I guess. less pay less attention to the responses that I don't want to get, and focus more on
But
both the
are you going to do it for
responses
you or for your audience? If you're going to do it for you,
for
I think it's
me.
great. If you're going to do it
For
for your
me.
audience,
No, no, no. For me, because I want to be happier, I want to be happier, and I don't think that dwelling on
yes,
the things that don't make me happy.
yeah,
So yeah, and I want to, and I'm sorry if that doesn't appeal to the people that follow me that don't care about video games, but again, they just don't have to watch those videos.
yeah.
That's why video titles are there, so you know what the video is going to be about.
Yeah.
So, but
So thank you
yeah,
guys
thanks for
for
everything.
watching this episode. I would like to tell you guys once again, you can find all of Cleo's work on Twitter,
Yeah,
twitter.com
if they
slash.
go to, I was gonna say, if they go to toplesstopics.org
Okay,
slash contact,
awesome.
I recommend that, because as accounts get banned, I update the page with new accounts, because
Of course.
I've had to remake accounts more than once.
So I'm
So
going
it's
to
better
leave
than,
the
yeah, sorry.
links in the
Okay.
description of the video. So as soon as this video goes up, you guys can look at her work. And once again, thank you. Thank you for watching. So see you guys in the next one.